What is up, everyone? We are live. Oh man, so we're gonna be here for the next 12 hours. Can you believe that? I hope you are able to join us for some of this, for any of it. Any help is really appreciated. That goes for support through the stream, that goes for being able to help out Open Goal Project and support our donation goal of $1,000, or just being here, being in the chat, talking to me, helping me through the next 12 hours. All of that is completely appreciated. So guys, the rhythm for the day is essentially going to be as such, right? I'm going to be talking to different folks around the globe, basically. Um, Open Goal, so one of the co-founders from Open Goal, if you have seen on my channel, you might have seen our interview with Simon. So he's going to be back on the channel just to introduce the Open Goal project, talk about what this money actually goes to, how they support the kids in their communities. So you're going to get kind of the foundation of, if you do want to give today, what does that money actually go to? Otherwise, we're going to be having Sam Stokes from Yank Report on. What's up, Rogelio? Thanks for joining us. Thanks for being the first one in here. Really appreciate it. So Sam Stokes is going to be joining us from Yank Report at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So that's in about an hour. And then Meg Swanick, who is actually in Panama right now, covering the U.S. men's national team, covering that. She's going to be joining us as well at 11 a.m. Eastern time to really just level set, give us what's happening on the ground, what's happening in camp with the team. And she was also at the Mexico-Canada game at Azteca a few days ago. So that should be a really interesting interview. I'm excited to have Meg on. And then we're going to play some FIFA, right? States United, if you've been following the channel, we are in the English Championship using a lot of the prospects for the U.S. men's national team, trying to get them to the Premier League. We're going to play that for a few hours. Then I'm trying to think of the time differences. So Belz from Scuffed Podcast is going to join us a little bit later. I think that's at 2 p.m. Eastern time. After Belz comes on, we're going to play a bit more FIFA until the rosters come out for the U.S. men's national team game against Panama. And essentially that pregame, the watch along, and the postgame is going to take us through that final 4 hours. So Jonathan, Rogelio, thanks for the comments. Thanks for joining in so early. Jonathan, you said, did you hear that Richie Ledesma is probably going to switch to Mexico? What is the U.S. Soccer Federation doing? We need youth camps and the Federation to pony up more money. So it's not official yet, but I have seen him essentially remove all U.S. Likes videos, all U.S. Memorabilia, I guess, from his social media, and he's started to follow Mexico. I saw that David Ochoa is starting to post Mexican flags on all of his comments. So it does look like pretty clearly Richie Ledesma is going to go to Mexico. But we'll see what happens. I think in that scenario, and thanks for the question, by the way, because we're waiting about 10 to 15 minutes before Simon joins us. So we're really just getting started for the day. Make sure to get your questions out now, but I'll read through everything as we go. I think we've done a lot for Richie Ledesma. We've definitely brought him into our youth teams when we've had the youth teams and we've had the youth games, but we haven't had a youth camp in a very long time. But he's also been injured. So in his case, I don't necessarily think that we could have done much more up to this point. But also with him looking at playing time, we have a ton of wingers. We have a ton of very young wingers. We have more in the ranks that are developing. So again, I feel like this is more of a Julian Araujo type deal for Richie Ledesma. Is he's probably split or would be leaning towards the US if playing time was a guarantee. But if you're going to be stuck behind Christian Pulisic, Gio Reyna, Timothy Weah, Brendan Aronson, Conrad De La Fuente, and everyone else that comes after, then maybe this is the best decision for his career. But I do agree. The U.S. Soccer Federation needs to hold way more youth camps and make sure that we are tracking along to get our young players available, playing time, experience with the youth teams, the coaches, the players that are going to be in their same age groups. All of that needs to happen immediately. So guys, why are these players so unloyal though? Because L3 fans don't respect dual nets. USA does. Yeah, I think for a lot of them, it's just a career move. And I unloyal is you can use that word, and it's not unfair to use unloyal. But I do think these are deeply personal decisions for kids. Like, I think Richie Ledesma is 20 years old, 19 years old. These players are making decisions with not everything in perspective. And maybe he is upset about something. Maybe he thinks he's going to get more playing time with Mexico. Maybe it doesn't really matter to him how the fans are going to treat him. But I do agree with you. The El Tri fans don't really respect dual nationals from what I've seen. The USA loves them. Um, but if he did pick the US, then I don't know how much playing time he will get. So guys, I'm going to just keep updating the ticker as we get additional donations. So we've just gotten another donation. I think we're at 10.7% towards our goal right now. So guys, a few just things as we get started. There is a QR code in this corner right here, this QR code. You can scan it to go right to the donation page for the Open Goal Project for this event. Or you can go to givebutter.com/FIFAmerica to find the donation link as well. And let me get the banner back up now that we're at 10.7%. Awesome. So everyone in the chat, thank you so much for joining early on. Make sure you hit the like button, and we're just hanging out until a few of our guests arrive. At 9:15, I'm expecting Simon, who's a co-founder of the Open Goal Project, to come on and talk about what this money actually goes to, what we're raising money for. And I am happy to be joined by my lovely cat, Dempsey, right here in the corner, if you can see her. So yeah, we got a good thing going. We're going to spend the next 12 hours together. So thank you guys so much for everyone that's in the chat for joining in. Really appreciate it. All right, I only use unloyal because guys like Ledesma, Araujo, Ochoa, etc. were USA all the way. I don't mean disrespect to those guys. Yeah, I didn't mean for that to be like you're really not, you don't like them as human beings anymore. That's not really what I'm trying to say, but I do think it's going to be a different reason for the choice for all of these players, whether they choose the US or Mexico. And for Pepe, I think even his was probably a bit of playing time. The striker position was still somewhat up in the air. Sargent couldn't score for the US for a long time. Pepe was in good form. He was called into a few camps. So even for him, it might have been to look at our depth chart and see which team would give him the best opportunity to have a really lengthy career and to be able to play at a World Cup. I know you said unloyal, but what I mean by the playing time, it's not just about playing time, and it's not just about getting to be, available for your national team. It's also if you grew up with a family that loves the Mexican national team and the US national team, and you're good enough to play international football, and your dream is to play at a World Cup, would you rather choose to play for the team that you're eighth on the depth chart, or maybe third or fourth, and you have a year and a half to get up to speed, or maybe you're 20 years old? There's going to be 3 or 4 more World Cups for you to join. So guys, thanks so much for being on here. We're going to be live for the next 12 hours. So I need all the help that I can get. And I see the cavalry has just arrived. So Simon, who's the co-founder of Open Goal Project, is on to join
Good
us
morning.
now. What's up? How are you?
I was watching on Twitter, and I saw you were all alone just with Dempsey, so I thought I would come early.
Nice. Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
How's it going?
We're
Can I
gonna
ask
go through.
before we get into everything? 12 hours. Is there a bathroom close by? Because I always wonder, NFL Red Zone with Scott Hansen, what he does all day. You gonna
He
just
probably
scoot
has a
away or
bag
what?
attached to his leg or something. But yeah, for me, I have a bathroom close by. The way it's gonna work actually is when I'm talking to people, it's a different streaming software than when I'm playing FIFA. So I
Okay,
think what I'll likely do is when it automatically jumps to the FIFA stream, I'll run out
you'll sneak
while
out.
it loads, yeah. Or maybe if I really have to go, I'll just ask you to talk to people for 5 minutes at the end
Yeah,
while I catch a
sure.
quick break.
Or just you got a great co-host
Yeah, I'll
sleeping
just
back in
roll
that chair.
Dempsey over here. Clint the Kitty Dempsey. That's
I
right,
have,
Mahalia.
oh, that's good. You got a little. I have a comment on well, you can do the intro, but I was listening to the national decision discussion, which I
Go
wanted
for
to
it,
join in on.
please. Well,
Um,
maybe introduce yourself first so people know
yeah.
who you are.
So first of all, I'm Jake's cousin, first and foremost. Secondly, I'm co-founder of Open Goal Project. Really appreciate Jake putting this on today. All the donations are going to our organization. We're a 501c3 based out of DC, and as U.S. soccer fans, I think there are a bunch of different ways you can kind of look at the issue, but I don't think anybody disputes that there's an issue of soccer accessibility at a high level in our country, and that's what we address kind of at every level of youth soccer. So our organization's focused on bridging any gap that our kids face. The kids we serve are kids from the inner city, or we've worked with some kids in other communities, but low-income kids, minority kids who just haven't had access to the travel traditional pay-to-play pipeline. So really appreciate you all, contributing and hopping on here today. I'm sure we'll talk more about that, but
Yeah, definitely. Is that a
that's
good
my
setup
intro.
for the national team
Yeah, no,
come up?
I was just listening in. I think you hit it spot on, Jake, and I agree. I don't think you were. I didn't hear who made the comment, and I don't think the comment was inappropriate around the word loyal. I do think that outside of here, why are these players so unloyal though? Because I just think that nationally and the conversation and the Twitter conversation around allegiance is so just off the point, because as you said, it's so personal, and people who are immigrants or are either moved here themselves or have had parents or grandparents, that culture and that kind of self identity, they have a real ongoing way of trying to figure out what that all looks like to them, and it's not a one size fits all. I've talked to kids who consider themselves more Salvadorian than they consider themselves American, and then vice versa, and there are parents who have moved here from those countries who consider themselves more American than they do Mexican or Guatemalan. And I just think I don't think it's appropriate, quite frankly, to try to, and I'm not saying this comment did that. I think overall, whenever these kind of conversations come up and somebody makes a national team decision on Twitter, it's an immediate kind of pushback. It's not our say to tell somebody else how to feel, right? And the rules are the rules such that somebody can make their own choice versus somebody else making their own choice. And then I do think there's a point that you made, and I don't know too much, but the David Regi piece back in whatever it was, 2000, 2002, I don't think he would have played for France. Maybe he would have, but some people are looking to what their top opportunity would be. So I think I try to stay away from getting involved in that kind of projection, just because it's totally up to, you don't know what the kid's
Yeah,
families have experienced any of that. So
yeah, definitely. And to be
thank you
fair
for
to
coming to my TED
Jonathan,
Talk.
to be fair to Jonathan, and I don't want him to feel like we're picking on him. I don't think he was saying unloyal as like they're unloyal to the United States. I think what he's saying is because they've been involved in so many youth camps and like they've
Right,
really been part of the development process within the US national team. That's the
right.
part that feels wrong to fans, but I completely agree with you. If it's a personal decision and they're allowed to make it, then who are we to say anything about what that meant to them?
I think one other point that you made that can't be overlooked, I struggle with this sometimes too. We all start cheering for these teams at different ages, right? Like I've been a US soccer fan since I was like 7 years old, right? And then, over time, how old are you now? You're 2 years
30.
younger than me? You're 30, right? I'm 34. There is an element that you totally forget, that these people are like developing children
Yeah.
into like
Their frontal lobes aren't fully developed
they
yet.
won't be fully grown, like fully full adults as our society looks at them, probably until like close to the end of their career, which
Yeah.
is crazy to think about. But I think that construct is such that we all start cheering when we're young, and we look at these people and we're like, wow, they're bigger and they're older. Reality, when you get to our age or any age beyond it, like, you have to look at these people and be like, wow, they're really like figuring themselves out.
Yeah.
I think that's a really important point too.
And all while doing that, all while figuring themselves out and developing as a human being, they have to make this incredibly impactful decision for the rest that will create kind of flows throughout the rest of their life of what will happen to them. So,
Right.
um, real quick, so Forest City Trivia said, "Good morning, good morning, Forest City Trivia.
Oh, I just
How
saw
do I
how the
donate?"
comments are available. I was on private chat the whole time. I didn't see any
We
of your
don't need
comments. Now
that.
I see it. Yeah.
Yeah, so Forest City, there is a QR code in the top right corner. If you scan that with your phone, it will take you directly to the givebutter.com/FIFAmerica donation page. And then the link, if you just want to type it in, is scrolling across the bottom as well. But that's just for today's event. So to set the scene, like today's event is just to raise funds through this 12-hour charity stream. But that doesn't mean that if you want to help today and you want to help next week, you can go to, I'm going to leave this now up to Simon
Yeah.
to talk
No, that's
about how to help out.
yeah. So if I can I comment in the comment section, or Jake,
I
can you
think so.
put our website in? I can't see how to do it. It's just
Okay.
technology issues.
Is it
But
opengoalproject.org?
opengoalproject.org. Yep. Check out our website. You'll, as Jake said, this is a great one-day campaign. We just launched, and we'll be going through the end of the year, a big campaign to support our fully free to play high level academy teams. We have 4 teams now. That's 3 boys age groups, ranging from U12 to U16, and 1 girls team. But in addition, over the next couple of months between now and the end of the year, to support that campaign, we're going to have a variety of different stories that we're rolling out and ways to help. One of which is we don't have them on our site right now, but are holding this up because we have a variety of different jerseys and merch with our love logo, which we'll be rolling out and adding products to likely in the coming weeks for Christmas gifts and things like that. So that also, check out our, I'm going to plug social. We're heaviest right now on Instagram. All of our platforms are at Open Goal Project, but we put a premium on not just development, but as a youth development and community organization, we share the stories of our kids and our families, and so there's some really powerful stuff and uplifting stuff on there
Yeah.
that you can follow
So
along.
maybe, Simon, that's where we can start, because I want to kick off the day with just people knowing what the money goes to and what it actually funds. Because
Yep.
if they watch the interview, they'll have heard, like, yes, we need money, but yes, we need coaches. Yes, we need a lot of other things to actually change the system. So if
Right.
they are giving today, like, what does that money actually go to? How does it help the kids within your community?
Yeah. So kind of at a high level, everybody talks about pay to play, right? And I think pay to play traditionally is thought of in the construct of like the $2,000 registration fee to get on the team, right? Which is totally an issue. The thing that we've seen throughout our process, which started when we founded the organization in 2015, is there are all of these different ancillary costs that can either be hard costs or costs that you can't really tangibly measure. So some of those things are obvious, like uniforms, right? High level uniforms. We try to replicate any high level team. So we're not putting our kids in, $3 t-shirts. We're getting them Nike dry fit jerseys to try to, really provide some equity and make them feel like they should feel. You have registration fees for like US Soccer or the State Youth Association. You have tournament fees, right? For any tournament you have to register for. And then, as you said, yeah, we pay our coaches. We have licensed coaches. We're trying to train our coaches. So we're bringing in next weekend, we're having a coaching course, right? So that people from our community who are community leaders who have soccer experience are being grown into the next generation of coaches. And then other elements like transportation, strength and conditioning is a big thing. We saw that when we first started, we were sponsoring kids to go on to other teams, right? And we started seeing that these kids, outside of just playing, they were getting once or twice a week with professional fitness trainers. They were, going to college ID camps, all of these things that, yeah, you can say there's a baseline, but if they're getting the leg up there, they're getting the leg up across the board. So there's a number of different things that this goes to, but it all falls under the funnel of, we have at this point nearly 100 kids that we support in an ongoing capacity. For our club teams, we have certain alumni who are going on to play in college. Who we've seen the trajectory that they're on, both on the field, but also educationally and in life. And so we're trying to push the kids that we serve now to that goal as well. So
nice. Awesome. So I'm refreshing the page as we go. And
thank you to everyone who's donating and who's just on and joining my cousin and I.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are already 15.2% of the way to our goal. And I just want to shout out some thanks. So if you guys do donate, you can have the option to make it public or not. But Mason, thanks so much. Mason and his wife Jess are about to have a baby boy. So congrats to Mason.
Congrats,
and thanks for donating. Geo Fritz, thank you so much for the $10 donation. Bucky, thank you for the $10 donation. Michael, thank you for the $25 donation. That is awesome to see so early on in the day. I was getting a bit nervous, like not just having to sit here for 12 hours and when my stretching and bathroom times will come in, but just the type of support that we would get. So this is really nice to see so early on, and I really appreciate it. I'm sure, yeah, like you just heard, the money will go to a really great cause as well for our communities. So Simon, I wanted to hear if you had like specific stories about some of the people that have gone through this program, because it's nice to know like what the money is going to and how, like, sometimes it seems really daunting, right? It's not just pay to play. It's like you have to compete with people that are getting personal training or all this other stuff, transportation. I think you told me in the other interview that we did that some tournaments require you to stay at a specific hotel and you have to pay like a middleman for that as well. Yep. So I just think, like, one, that's insane. So we need to help fix this. But two, like, what does it actually mean for kids that you're supporting? So not just what does the money go to, but like, are there specific stories that you could share that are really like, what does this mean for your community?
Yeah, I mean, so like you alluded to, and everyone on here, like, this goes back to what I was saying about like pay to play. It's like when people say pay to play, because we've done this grassroots work and really seen the back end of it for these years, like we're just scratching the surface when you think of like, oh, it costs a lot of money to play soccer, because the processes and the term systemic, right? It's been built into the way things operate. And I'll give you one example. This was when we first launched. in 2015, and this will tie in with a great success story. We had a young lady that we were working with whose family is from El Salvador, and we had fought to get her a tryout with the local travel team, and she made the travel team. And the next step in the process was completing registration forms, which were exclusively in English for the club. Then there was an application to apply for a scholarship to the club, which included a fee to apply for the scholarship, which we subsidized because we had started efforts, and it cost $100 to apply for the financial aid piece of this. Now, at the time, some people
I'm
that I was
sorry, did you
talking
just
to.
say it costs money to apply for financial aid?
Yes. In 2015, when we started this, there was a number of different situations that we saw that included a scholarship application that required generally between $50 and $100 that everybody had to pay. That when you see these families' taxes and you see their income, the people who are deciding this are not in a place where they can understand that $50 or $100 is inherently exclusionary already, right? Because if you're a family that has 4 kids and you're making $10,000, $15,000 a year, I don't care how much soccer you're going to play, you're not going to pay $100, $200 to like apply for the chance to have a scholarship. So that's an example.
1% of your annual income,
right?
Essentially.
On the flip side, success stories, and Jake, I told you, feel free to show some videos throughout the day if you'd like. One of the young ladies that we started working with really early on, she's our first NCAA Division I scholarship student athlete. She plays today for James Madison University. She has a game against Northeastern, I believe, at 1 o'clock, and she is doing great. And she's the first member of her family, I think, to go anywhere beyond. Her family was middle school, but her brother's at high school. So that's, in the big picture off the soccer field, anybody who looks at the landscape of, society knows what a college education means. So that, that remains to be seen what it truly means to her. But we know that it'll mean, much more than any of the soccer has ever meant,
Yeah. And I think my favorite part of that story, and tell me if I'm wrong, she is also the person where when you had the Manchester United coaches with you,
Yeah, you
they
want
were
me to tell
saying
that story?
that's the person. Yeah.
Yeah.
And-
Yeah. So
and this is the same person, right? So
yes,
you're
so,
kind of just saying like education and getting someone set with a foundation to maybe do that and get an education is more
yes.
life-changing than becoming a professional athlete.
So when this girl was 10 years old, as part of a community program, Manchester United trainers came to. Actually, Man City came a year later, and the guy said the same thing, Jake. I didn't tell you that. But Manchester United was playing a friendly at FedEx Field, I want to say against Inter or AC Milan, maybe. Probably 2010 or something. But they came and they, as part of a kind of a grassroots, community work, they did a clinic at a local school. And all the kids in our community came out, and we had everyone from like 8-year-olds to the 16-year-olds who, 95% of who were boys, all trying to do like a million step overs, thinking they were going to get signed to a contract for Manchester United. Obviously, the Manchester United coaches, not any particularly great players, but just a cool experience for the kids. And this young lady was 10 years old at the time. She was playing with all of the as part of the clinic, and a guy, one of the trainers came up to me from Manchester United, and he pointed at her and he said, "Where is that young lady playing?" And I said, "She doesn't play anywhere because it costs too much money to play travel soccer." This was before we launched Open Goal. He said, "That's crazy." I said, "Do you think she's a good player?" He said that at Manchester United, they were taught that to go out and scout, that between like 8 and 10 years old, and this happened maybe 10 or 11 years ago, so I'm probably slightly adjusting the ages, but he said between like 7 or 8 and 10 years old, they say that an individual either has like showcases a unique like elite athletic gene in the way that they move, or they don't. And that's like when they can really start to tell who could be like on a path to being really, really good and who's just a guy or a girl. And he said that girl has it at age 9 or 10. He said it. Nobody else on the field had it. So it was really clear that really pushed us to start really looking for an opportunity for it. But this story and this kind of thing is manifesting all over the country. And I know that there are efforts to make the game more accessible. I think the key is also that's slept on is the exposure piece, right? It's not just about the money. There are kids who are not going to be part of the system that people have to go and find and like explore where they are, because not everybody's going to be in this exact pipeline.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I think that's a good transition into this next question, but I do want to get to Robert's real quick, which is where do I donate? Don't worry, I'm probably going to say this a million times today, but there's a QR code at the top right of the screen, Robert. If you scan that with your phone, it'll take you directly to the donation page, or you can donate at givebutter.com/FIFAmerica. That's scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Otherwise, so that's just for the event today. If you do want to donate going forward, it's the opengoalproject.org. So those are all the ways. And then I want to see you and Sam rank players. When Sam comes on, we will definitely do some depth charting, some ranking of the players. So the question that I did want to get to was one that Jonathan asked. I like that this helps an immediate problem, but how do you guys go about changing this system as well?
This is a great question, Jonathan. And I think so to take a step back, it's something that we're consistently evaluating. How do we address the immediate issue and then also progress to change the system, right? And so as I mentioned at the beginning, when we started doing this, our thought in 2015 was we were going to raise a bunch of money and just pay for kids to play on other travel teams. That was in our mind what was going to be the fixer. And obviously after several years, it became clear that that's just a really small Band-Aid, right? But it was all that we could do at the time, and we saw great success with the kids that we did. The next evolution in it was offering our own programming. I haven't said this yet, but my co-founder, I played youth soccer at a high level, but I never played at a really high level in college or beyond. My co-founder, Amir Lowry, was on Wake Forest University's top-ranked soccer team, and then went on to play for about 10 years in between Major League Soccer and the USL. Most of the time, I think his longest stint was with Montreal right before they got moved to the MLS. So he's a really high-level, experienced soccer guy. He's working on his A license right now. But we started to look at the issue and say, okay, like this is going to affect 1 or 2 kids at a time. If we're seeding kids, we need to start offering our own programming, right? So we started by offering free-to-play, high-level clinics and camps and things like that ad hoc here and there. We started offering college ID camps, which I mentioned, which is a whole kind of separate industry that is keeping kids from playing collegiately and exposure. With the next iteration of that and where we are today, was our club team, building out a fully developed free-to-play club. And how do we take it a step beyond that? We've gone from, serving and offering fixes on a media problem of 1 kid to 10 kids to 50 kids, and now we have 100 kids. In our mind, there are a couple of ways. One is, ideally, as we continue to build out, this model is replicable in other cities or other locations. Obviously, you need significant buy-in from partners, corporations, foundations, right? But beyond that, I think also it's providing, as we've seen this process, there's a lane that we think might be relevant of providing resources and tools to other community leaders who are doing this kind of work, but might not have the fishing pole to do the work themselves, right? To the real knowledge and the insight or the infrastructure to make a sustained impact. So I think that's a lane also. But Jonathan, to your point, we're always grappling. Is this it's a fight this fire and then look at the blaze down the road, right? So I hope that answers the question, but happy to do a follow-up as well.
Nice. Awesome. I will mention to everyone watching, we have almost 20 people, which this early is awesome to see. But if you guys do have any questions for either of us, but Simon will probably spend the next, I don't know, maybe 15 or 20 more minutes with us. So make sure if you have any other questions in addition, just get those in and we're happy to answer them. Real quick, I just want to touch on some new donations that came in. William, thank you so much for the $100 donation. That's amazing.
Awesome. Thanks, William.
Yeah, Preston, who is a longtime part of this community for FIFAmerica, he donated $28.50. I don't know what that number signifies, but he said, as a teacher and a youth soccer coach, I know that we can change the lives of young people through the beautiful game. Thanks for doing such important work and giving all of us the opportunity to do something wonderful together. So thank you, Preston. And then Robert, you donated $10. You said, oh, sorry. Robert said he doesn't need to be mentioned. So apologies, Robert.
I didn't say his last name.
Yeah.
Do you, Jake, do you have access for now or for later on video stuff? I don't know how the transmission would be, but if you, again, feel free to.
I can definitely, so when I'm in this software for streaming, I can definitely show videos and share my screen, essentially. Cool. So if you want to send me some links, I'm more than happy to share those.
Our YouTube page is pretty built out. I'm wondering what would be a good first one.
Yeah, if you want to show one now or anything, we can definitely do that and see.
Let's do it. Let's
guys, if you are watching throughout the day, I am going to say that everything is going to work perfectly, but I can't guarantee that the technology and everything will always cooperate. And I am playing, so at noon Eastern, I'll be playing FIFA after talking with Simon, Sam, and Meg, and it will automatically move you to the next stream. But if it doesn't, my sincerest apologies, and you're just going to have to go into the channel and find the next live stream.
Why don't we, Simon, Jake, you want me to send you a link or what?
Yeah, actually, that's what the private chat's for. So if you want to put it in the private chat, we do find a use. And while you're doing that, I'll just scroll through some of the other comments. Hit the like button if you haven't already to help people find the stream. Thanks, Matt. Hey, good morning, Carlos. Thanks for joining. Robert, you said, did you see the tier I made for ranking players? I haven't seen that. And I also want to say, I know you said you sent me your email address in the members only video. I can't seem to find that comment. So if you want to direct message me on Twitter, or I can give you my email address as well to send that over. But I was trying to look for it. It tells me that I have a comment on that video, but for some reason it's hidden. So I apologize that I haven't emailed you yet, but I was thinking about you. I wanted to make sure. All right, perfect. I have it now. Thanks for that. Carlos, you said, I was watching the Mexican broadcast and it's really annoying how much they talk about the US men's national team and how cocky they are. Well, we'll see how we do. I think we play them home in Cincinnati. We'll play them home first, and then we'll play them away at Azteca later. But we have 2 trophies from this summer, so we'll see. All right, Simon, which one do you want to play for everybody?
So Ariana's story is about Ariana in her own words, which might be relevant to Matt's question. Matt's asking, what other barriers are you finding to kids to play beyond simply financial? For example, lack of transportation, language barriers, etc. Matt, those are all the exact issues that we're seeing. And I think, Jake, yeah, if it's like a 3-minute video, is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Matt, I would say this video, the young lady that I just talked about who's at JMU now, she wrote we're going to share a video that it's set to her reading her college essay. And her college essay, she wrote about being the only Hispanic girl on a team of all white girls in playing at the highest level. And so I think a piece of this that is really looked beyond is the psychological, sociological construct of being the only one and being the outsider. And I think it's much better on the men's side now than it was maybe. I think on the women's side, diversity, obviously, that's a hot topic too. So if you want to share that, this will be, I think, help paint the picture for that.
I haven't tried to share a video with audio before, so let's just see how this goes.
If it doesn't work, I can just plug it in the chat.
Can you just let me know if you can hear it, Simon?
As a child of Salvador,
yes, I can.
Growing up in Washington, D.C., I witnessed the plight of poverty that damaged so many of my neighbors and family members. These injustices permeated my neighborhood as gentrification created problems regarding access to fair housing, food, and education. The only place I could find solace from the insecurities that surrounded me was on a soccer field at Tubman Elementary School. This field provided me with so much more than the opportunity to play soccer. I had the opportunity to be free and connect with my friends and coaches who became like family. Surrounded by Spanish, French, Amharic, and English, I felt at home against the diversity of Tubman Field. With the support of my community, I excelled on and off the field. My coach recognized my talents and I started playing with a travel team across town in a more affluent neighborhood. Suddenly, my bubble burst. I found myself not only in a different field, I was also in a different world. I started playing on a travel team when I was in 7th grade. I was an 11-year-old Latino in a club where the majority of girls were either mixed or white. I usually kept to myself because I wasn't comfortable. My English wasn't good, I couldn't relate to their lifestyle, I didn't listen to the same music or artists. I never wanted to go on away games because that meant I had to carpool with one of the girls or her parents. And that would mean that I had to talk. My parents couldn't take me on those trips because they had to work. I remember seeing how big these girls' houses were and how they had so many clothes and a room separate from their siblings and parents. They didn't have to share one room with their whole family and live in their grandma's apartment in a rented room along with 2 strangers in order for their grandma to pay the apartment rent, like me. I remember each and every ride, looking out the window, contemplating that I wasn't like them, that I was different, that I didn't belong there. I didn't understand why I couldn't be myself, why I couldn't show that it didn't matter how I spoke, that I deserved to be there no matter my circumstances. As I grew and continued to play, I began to realize that differences between my teammates and I did not matter because we all had the same goal. It didn't matter if I went to a public school or why they went to a private school, or if they took vacations to fancy places where I wish I could go. At the end of the day, we were there for the same reason. Now, as a 17-year-old, I am able to talk to my teammates and laugh with them, and engage in conversations without feeling like I shouldn't be there. I have met friends who are like sisters I never had. I now know who I am, and I am confident in who I am despite my differences. Next year, I will be attending James Madison University to continue my career as a student athlete. and I am cutting the string between being a child and becoming an adult. I'm fully aware that college will be hard, but I know that who I surround myself with and the new family I will form will push me to be great and graduate in 2024. I have promised myself that I will use what I learned to shine without holding back. I will show who I am, where I come from, and how powerful I can be as a proud Latina woman.
So I think that is the young lady that Manchester United noticed. As I mentioned, she's at JMU. She's in her sophomore year, redshirt freshman year. She's doing great. But I think I wanted to bring that up, Matt, because I think you hit the nail on the head, which is there are just so many layers, and you could hear it in her essay, that I think without being in it and being really, in the grassroots aspect of it, people just speaking kind of at a high level, there's just a lot they're missing,
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Do you have a few more minutes, Simon?
Yeah, I'm good. I would also like to just tell everyone that it means a lot to me that Jake and I now we're in our 30s. We're doing a soccer podcast. I remember when Jake and I would be standing behind the register of our dad's stores and learning how to tie our shoes from employees. So technology and time, it's a wonderful thing.
I remember just trying to hide like between the clothing racks to play hide and seek.
We would play hide and go seek and act like mannequins. If you're our dads are brothers, and they had a family-owned store which just closed this year after 100 some years. So Jake and I have had many memories in the coat racks and in the window display section as children.
Yes. So I don't know if you're the perfect person to answer this, but maybe you can give your best shot. How do you compare youth soccer to the programs that support sports like basketball?
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Another one I get when I'm asked that is football, because Pee-wee football is like seems to be more accessible to inner city kids now. I think there are a few things. So first of all, basketball and football, when we're talking about the cities versus suburbs, I think they've inherently offered programs in those communities for longer than soccer. Soccer has developed as physically, location-wise, as a suburban sport. Jake, I'm going to send you something to put in the chat. It's an article. Mm-hmm. It's not that will illustrate some of this. There was an article on Yahoo Sports that featured us and one of our players who decided in the end to not play college soccer. She's at University of Maryland now, Precious, but it's about all of the real systemic layers and systemic racism integrated with youth soccer specifically versus other sports in America, where the programs are offered, who developed the programs, right? Like at the very beginning. So that's an interesting read on it. I think the two things, like you were asking, I can't see who asked that, is location, where it's being offered, particularly for kids and families who don't have reliable transportation options, and then fees and kind of the infrastructure of how the leagues are built. If you look at league play and the infrastructure of youth soccer, it's very capitalistic. There are leagues being popped up all the time. It's a moneymaker, right? And I'm sure in some ways basketball is the same. I also think the highest level of basketball, was interesting to sponsors and AAU very early on. And so you had kids like LeBron James playing, free because there's a high level of sponsor interest. I know that's kind of that's its own pit of stuff, right? But I think that's a main difference as well. Bucky.
Yeah. All right. And Preston, I just wanted to put yours here. Everybody deserves a shot. Diversity makes stronger teams and most importantly, more complete people, individuals. Yeah, I think we covered this pretty much when we did our first interview with you, Simon, and I was talking about just hiring practices in the corporate world as well, and kind of starting with the largest funnel possible, then you're more likely to get the best candidate at the bottom. And if you think about from the soccer development world, we're really only tapping a very small portion of our youth right now because of how exclusionary pay to play is. And like you said, not just pay to play, but all those other things, forms only being in English, aid costing money to apply for, all those things, it kind of whittles the funnel down at the very top. So we can't say for sure if our national team would be better or worse if we didn't have pay to play, but we could absolutely say that we would have a larger pool of candidates to choose from if we had a better system in place. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's spot on. Preston, I totally agree, by the way, on your comment. But on the MLS side, but yeah, to Jake's point, I think there are two things. One, yeah, if you're eliminating X percentage of the population who can't access it, and granted, nothing's going to be perfect, right? Not everything is going to be always 100% accessible to everybody. But we're eliminating a large portion of the population early on. We don't know if all those players or any of those players would trickle up. Based on numbers, you'd imagine that some would. And then just at the baseline level, I think if you're talking about getting the strongest players, you want the strongest competition too, right? Like you want everybody being pushed all the time. And so a numbers game is just that. It's a numbers game, right? And so bringing in as many as you can to try to, create as much competition as possible, I think is, it's just numbers.
Yeah. Before we say goodbye to you, I have two more questions. The first one is kind of off the back of this comment from Matt, just saying, you're doing great work. I see these issues daily. He works in a highly diverse community, and so programs like this are close to his heart. I just wanted to ask you, and maybe this is kind of out of left field, but as a white man working towards kind of raising up diverse communities, is there, are you looked at differently, or do you need to do anything differently to build trust with your community that you're trying to help?
So yes and yes. So within this work, I've been doing it long enough in our community that I have no issues with trust at this point. Everybody knows who I am and is comfortable with who I am. I think with me, and something that I think is crucial to understand in this space is I know the things that I just need to just not get into. And I also need to, it's why my co-founder is African American. Most of our staff is African American or Latino. There's just times when you just need to shut up and say, that's not my experience. I need to let somebody who really understands this dictate and take the reins on it. But yeah,
that's a great life lesson in general.
Yeah, exactly. I think early on, I will say, when I first have met people, less so because I'm white, I think, but more so because of the construct that some free high-level programming doesn't exist. The initial hurdle is people kind of look at us like, wait, you want my kid to play, but it doesn't cost anything? Do I have to pay for the jersey? No. I just fill out your registration form and kind of yes. Okay. And then after a couple of weeks, they're like, this is amazing, right? But who comes to them? And we're established now, but the first couple of years, we would go into parents' houses and talk with the parents and really say this is what we're trying to do. And there were elements that people were like, this doesn't make any sense. This is too good to be true.
Nice. All right. So one other comment. Love this fundraiser. Open goal seems worthy cause. I absolutely agree. Thanks, Simon. And Herculean live stream. We're only an hour in, guys, so I could absolutely fail from here. So Simon, all right.
Great already. Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. My last question is more of a trivia for everybody else out there.
Oh,
But we grew up in
I
whether it was
already
in
know what the
Princeton,
answer is.
yeah, whether it was in Princeton, New Jersey, or very close to it, we both played on teams that were in the Princeton organizations. And you played on a team with someone that is or was a part of the national team. Do you have any stories to share that you remember about being teammates with Michael Bradley?
I was actually also, I don't know if you know this, I was on a select team for 1 year with Eddie Gavin.
I did
you
not
remember
know
Eddie
that.
Gavin? Yeah.
No. Well, I know.
I actually have
Yeah.
a better story about Eddie Gavin than I have.
Then go
Michael
for
Bradley.
it. Maybe that says more about Michael Bradley.
No, he was great, and we were close with their family at the time. But I'll always remember this. So I was on Central Jersey Select, and we played our first tournament, and we were a good team. And then there was all this buzz that this guy was going to come and play for the second tournament. And he said this kid's name was Eddie, and the coach was his coach on his club team. And the coach called him the professor. And he said, why is he the professor? He said, because he's just so smart. And he shows up, and at the time he looked like, he did not look very athletic at all. And he didn't look, I mean, soccer is soccer, right? But he didn't look like your traditional soccer player. And he got out, and he was so good. He just like completely dominated the whole game. But to this day, I'll always remember we were like 11 years old, and the kid was nicknamed by like a 50-year-old the professor. I thought it was the oddest.
It's usually
thing.
the other way around.
Yeah, exactly. But some great memories. Playing in Princeton, great Princeton pipeline. Actually, now I don't know if I didn't tell you this, Jake, either. Yeah. So they were in Princeton, and then I think they moved to Chicago because Bob got the Chicago Fire job. Yeah. Jake, you'll appreciate this. So when my dad saw Bob maybe like at a Princeton camp or something after that, or a national team camp, and I was wondering like if Bob would like remember who he was, and he just said, "How's the store doing?"
A few years ago as well, I came back from college to, maybe it was like a holiday or something, and my dad was telling me how a coach of some like MLS team was in the store, and he actually lives in Princeton, and he's the coach of like maybe it's the Red Bulls or something. And I was like, was it Jesse Marsh? And he was like, yeah, that's the one.
Right.
Did you know he lives in Princeton and he coaches in Newark?
I didn't.
And so my dad met Jesse Marsh.
It is hilarious.
Yeah.
No.
All right. Well, I will let you go, Simon. Thank you so much for joining us and for helping us.
Thank you, everyone. And I'll see you, Jake, around 3:30 or so.
Yeah. So I'm talking with Belz from the Scuffed podcast from 2 to 3. So if you want to, I'll send you the link. It's going to be different from this one.
Cool.
I'll send you the link. So if you want to come in then and check in on the progress, that'd be awesome.
That sounds great. One last thing. Preston just said, MB4 gets a lot of hate, but he's one of my favorite players. I will say this. This is a good Michael Bradley little tidbit, is that when he started getting to that level, all of our former teammates were like, is he really that good? Or is it because, he has, like everybody was saying. And then he started playing, and I thought he got way too much flack. I thought he was great during his time. Yeah. So anyway, thank you so much. Thanks everyone who contributed, everyone who just is following along. Follow us on social, and Jake, make sure you carve out time for bathroom breaks, and I'll see you a little later.
Sounds good. Don't remind me. It's creeping up right now. But all right. Cheers, buddy.
Bye.
Thanks so much. See ya. All right. So that was Simon, guys, co-founder of Open Goal Project, but most importantly, my cousin. It's great to connect with him on this as well. We've lived in very different locations since. So my cousin Simon, his his dad, his brother, his mom, they all moved away from Princeton probably a decade ago. So it's great to just stay connected to family through this. But thanks so much, everyone, for your donations so far. I think we're at $291 already, and we're only an hour in. So, wow, the support has been amazing so far. Let me just make sure all of the other guests have everything they need to be joining us. I don't want to miss anything while we're streaming. But guys, if you have any questions that you want to ask Sam Stokes from Yank Report, get those ready in the chat, and I'll be joined by him next. But while we're waiting for him, there he is. He just popped in. So I just want to remind you guys, where do you donate for today? So there is a QR code right here. If you scan that with your phone, it'll take you directly to the donation page, or you can follow the link that's scrolling across the bottom. But also make sure you like this video so more people can find it throughout the day, and that will really help us just reach more people. So I know there are a few questions already for us while we talk through, but Sam, are you good to go if I bring you on? Okay. All right, so I'm going to talk about Michael Bradley for a second while Sam gets ready. He was unhappy that he left Roma, but he was one of the first like true players from that era. It was probably him and Josie. We didn't have a lot of talent in that age group, but he was in Chievo. He played really well there in Serie A. He got transferred to Roma, and that goal in Azteca against Mexico, I mean, there's probably not going to be a better U.S. men's national team goal in the next decade or so. But yeah, I have nothing but love for Michael Bradley. So Sam, whenever you are ready, just give me the thumbs up and I'll bring you on. Jay Bird, $10 donation. You said great work. Hope the Yanks win 3-0 tonight in Panama. Me too, man. Me too. That would be a great win. Someone else mentioned that one. I really like the idea of ranking the top 30 players and or doing a depth chart. I think we can definitely do that. I was thinking, like, if everyone is healthy, what's our best starting 11? So just let us know in the chat, either Jonathan or I think it was Robert that had asked what you guys want to see from it. But first, I do want to introduce the man, the myth, the legend, Sam Stokes from Yank Report. I'll let you do your own.
Good morning, Jake, or whatever
intro.
time it is.
It is 3 p.m.
3 p.m.
Yeah, and it's quite early for you, right? You're in Louisiana, back in Louisiana.
Yeah, it's 9. I just watched some Formula One, so
nice.
I'm good to go.
All right, spoiler alert. I watched the beginning, but don't know the conclusion. What
All right,
happened?
I won't tell you.
Was it a good? Oh no, I want to know.
Oh, you want to know?
Yeah.
Valtteri Bottas won.
Okay.
And then it was Red Bull 2 and 3. It was
oh really?
Yeah, Max Verstappen and then Perez.
Cool. Well,
Hamilton had some tire issues.
First jersey. I feel like Hamilton always has tire issues.
Yeah.
But this isn't an F1 broadcaster YouTube, so we don't have to get into that. So Sam, I imagine 99.9% of people watching know who you are. But for anyone that doesn't, you want to just talk through who you are, what your channel is all about?
Yeah, my name's Sam. I'm from the Yank Report. Yank Report's a channel that I started almost a year ago now. We're a U.S. men's national team channel, much like the Cajun legend. Oh, my God. Much like FIFAmerica. And we've been following this group of young marauding Americans as they quest to come together and figure out some type of attacking style, figure out some verticality, and try to put something together. And I'm feeling good. I don't know what we want to get into right now, but
well, I'm definitely going to ask you about your experience having gone to Q2 Stadium in Austin, but really just spending some time helping me kill some of the 12 hours and hang out. I love that someone called you the Cajun legend, because I've been streaming some FIFA lately, and people are just like, this is the NPR guy of the U.S. men's national team. I've heard that like 5 times now, so I'm glad that we're all getting our own little names. Robert said 2 of my top 3 U.S. men's national team content creators. Thanks, man.
Yeah, what's
I'm
up,
not going to
Robert?
ask for the third one is. But thanks for the
Robert always
support.
gives me long, very detailed comments. Very, very well written, very interesting comments. I tend to
do.
steal Robert's thoughts whenever I do videos.
Hey, that's what you got to do. And these can't all be original ideas. But no, Robert, Preston, Jonathan, Matt, like there's so many people that I see on each of the videos just being an active part of the community, which is awesome to see. All right. So Matt asked, have you fully recovered from all the grief stages after Araujo chose Mexico, or are you still crying?
I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to recover because I feel like he's going to get better, right? Like I feel like he's going to be that next player that's transferred out, and I feel like once he hits Europe, he's going to be really good because he's such a good player. I feel like he's underrated by a lot of people in the pool. I feel
mean,
like a lot of
especially
people
now.
say, yeah, I feel like a lot of people say like we have Dest and we have Scally, like Brian Reynolds, like we don't need him,
Yeah.
but like this guy's special, man. I mean, whenever he hits that final third, even whenever he's not in the final, I like he's a complete player. I feel like as a right back, even like Serginho Dest is so good in that middle third, right? Like he's a god in the middle third. But we saw in I guess Jamaica, once he gets in that final third, he could take a player on, but he's not super confident. And then his end product is here and there and everywhere. And that's true whether he's playing for Barcelona or whether he's playing for the US. But like, man, Julian Araujo, he can make some stuff happen. He's almost like a creative player from the wing. Like he can get in that half space and operate. Galaxy does that with him all the time. They let him get in the half space. They let him get out wide. He finds that Manchester City zone that everybody talks about. He can put in a very great, very dangerous cross, and he's just locked in.
Yeah,
he's like, I mean, some players you see them get the ball and they just don't really know what to do with it, or they're kind of checked out of the game. Shoot, like whenever the U.S. gave up that goal to Canada, DeAndre Yedlin was just checked out for like half a second, and that's kind of been DeAndre Yedlin's career. You know, he has these moments where he just checks out. I've never seen that with Julian Araujo. Like he's always just so in the game. So I'm very upset that he didn't choose the United States.
I feel like I could allow you to just talk for a full hour about Julian Araujo and his ability.
I mean, there's so many good things to talk about. We don't have to talk about that.
That's okay. I do think like anyone that says that doesn't matter or that he's far away on the depth chart right now, you only have to look as far as Joe Scally to see how quickly things can change, and only have to look as far as the El Salvador game to see what the community was saying about, Dest not being the best right back in the pool. And there's a very good case that a year from now, Julian Araujo could be one of the best right backs in our pool and could displace Dest, or we could play Dest on the left like he has been for Barcelona. So I don't think it's as cut and dry as people are making it, but I also think that's a coping mechanism. I hope I'm not bothering anyone in the chatter that's watching, but once someone chooses Mexico, I think everyone is just going to think about why it doesn't matter, why it's not going to make an impact on the US. But one thing I'll say as well, just while we're on the topic, is when you lose a prospect to your biggest rival, that in itself is a negative. So as good as he can be for Mexico, as good as he might be, that also means the US lost some of that talent to be on their team as well. So not only did you lose a prospect, but your biggest rival gained one in the process. So that's all I have to say about that. But Sam, talk to me about your experience going to Austin and being at that game against Jamaica.
Well, have you ever been to Austin, or are you familiar with the town?
I haven't, no.
So Austin is like the tagline for Austin is "Keep Austin Weird." It's like this this town in Texas that's different than what you would traditionally think of as Texas. It's very interesting. It's like it's a very big little city. There's not that many people there. There's like, I don't even know if there's 1 million people there, but it's one of these towns that people have just been flocking to it from all over the South because there's so much going on in the technology sector, especially like Tesla moved out there, and like a bunch of big companies have moved out there. But creatives, the music scene, the comedy scene's going out there right now. It's just, there's so much going on in Austin that whenever it was announced that like an MLS team was going there, it was like, oh, that's going to be perfect. That's going to fill in because there's just so many people there our age in particular that are doing things and have extra income, that it seems like it's just a perfect fit. And it has been from the start. I don't know if you've watched any Austin FC games, but the atmosphere at the games is just incredible. A fantastic mix of just young people from all over with that Latin flair. There's a lot of that around, and it's just a great atmosphere. I mean, the facilities are top class. But anyway, speaking of this particular game, I mean, whenever we got there, I had gotten clued in by an AO Austin member to tell me where to go. Everybody's meeting at this brewery. So we show up to this brewery right as one of the AO captains is like giving like the final warm-up speech. So it was great. It was like 300, like we were about to go.
Everyone hyped.
It really felt like we were going to war, man. So me and my friend, we walk up to the back of the speech where everybody was gathered, and the guy finishes the speech and he's like, "Let's go." And then he like takes off from his podium and like walks directly to where we are and starts walking, and we just follow him. And unknowingly, we were like at the front of the group, and we didn't realize how many people were there at first. Yeah. But whenever we hit a curve, we were able to like look back and see that there were thousands of people in this march to the stadium, like chanting and cheering along the way. Mm-hmm. My buddy's not really a U.S. soccer fan, so he was kind of blown away by the experience. Yeah, man. There was a guy next to us wearing a Union Civil War outfit, another guy wearing a Revolutionary War outfit, and people were just so into it, So the march to the stadium was just tremendous, man. One of my favorite memories. Like, we were so buzzing just that whole march. That was so cool. Mm-hmm. It was probably a couple miles, I don't know, but it was great. And then getting there, Q2 is absolutely gorgeous. I mean, I'm sure you've seen pictures and stuff and seen some Austin FC games, and it looks good on camera, and it's tremendous in the stadium. I mean, great flow. It's not that it's like a 22,000 seat venue. Mm-hmm. So it's one of those where it's very intimate, and every seat it feels like a great seat. It's just so nice, man. Top class. Just can't say a bad word about it. And then getting to see these players on the field, man. I mean, we've been talking about these players, obsessing about these players, and there they are, like right in front of you. And you see, Weston McKennie with the streak in his hair, and, Tim Weah just doing magical things on the ball and warm-ups, and I'm telling my friend, like, just unloading on him way too much information about, like, that guy eats a baguette before every game,
True story.
Yeah. So the game starts, and I don't get the opportunity to watch too many high level soccer games where I am, because there's just not many in Louisiana. Like, if I want to go to one, I'm pretty much going to have to drive at least 4 hours, no matter what. And, it kind of occurred to me while I was there, there's a lot of controversy about how expensive the tickets are to these games. And it kind of occurred to me, like, there's not many, right? Like, World Cup qualifying comes around once every 4 years. Yeah. And there's only so many games. Like, I can't remember if it's 12 or 16. What is it? How many games in qualifying?
You have 7. So there's 8 teams in the Ocho. You play 7 home and away.
Yeah. So there's 7 games, like literally 7 games every 4 years where you could watch a World Cup qualifier. And of those 7, how many are going to be in your neck of the woods?
Yeah.
So
I don't know about you, but I'm already saving up for the 2026 World Cup.
Yeah, man. I looked at that.
Games.
I looked at the prices for the Mexico game in Cincinnati, and it's just way too much. It's like $300 is like the baseline for like the cheapest ticket. But if it's in your neck of the woods, man, I mean, it's a special thing. It's not something that comes around very often. So I understand why the demand's so high and why the prices are so high. But anyway, I mean, in stadium, is so cool. I'm sure you've watched a ton of games in stadiums, so but you get such a better look at like the formation and the shapes, the way the team's playing, and such a better sense of like just the quality of these players and how good they are. And I think in person, I saw a lot of people complaining about like Weston McKennie in particular, but like Weston McKennie and Tyler Adams saying they didn't do too much. And like in stadium, you get such a better sense of especially the midfielders and everything they're doing, like their movement,
how much ground they're covering.
Their tackles and just like the simple things that they do to maintain possession, especially like in the build-up phase. And especially whenever they hit long balls, and you just get a sense for like how pinpoint and difficult those balls are. Just tremendous. And then boy, the noise from the American Outlaws all game long, the crowd chanting, like everybody was so into it. It wasn't a crowd where it felt like a lot of the tickets were comped, and it was just like the local middle school getting the chance to go to their game. No, it was people that were into it. The guy behind me, Andres, he actually was a fan of the channel, so we were talking the whole game. I remember after Pepe scored, he was like, I think America just found our Mexican-American hero. And I was like, damn, dude, I think you're right. After the game, we actually went to the AO section, and Alexi Lawless was there. So I met Alexi Lawless.
Now the big question, did he know the channel?
He didn't know the channel, but I have been in his spaces a few times and talked to him. So he knew. I guess I'm like the only person he ever talks to from Louisiana. So I said, I'm from Louisiana. He's like, oh, you're a Louisiana guy. So he knew that. But absolutely tremendous experience, man. If you guys have an opportunity to go to a World Cup qualifier, jump on that, because they don't come around very often, man.
Yeah. And so I'm wearing a Red Bull jersey. I haven't been to a qualifier in that stadium, but about I guess it was right before the 2014 World Cup. There was like a send-off series for the US, and they played Turkey in Red Bull Arena. And that was awesome. And it's not like the Red Bull Arena that you know of today, where there's no fans in the stadiums for MLS, but it was rocking. It was awesome. Everybody was so into it. The tailgate was awesome. And that was just for a send-off to the World Cup. So I do think, if you guys can save up a bit, go see it in person. It's one of the best experiences.
And I was explaining to my friend that so much of this stuff is brand new. Like previously in World Cup qualifiers, we played a lot of our games in like football stadiums, and we did the first one in Nashville in a football stadium, and you end up with, empty seats and the venue trying to fill those seats with anybody and stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure this is the first cycle where they've really put an emphasis on trying to play in MLS stadiums, like soccer-specific MLS stadiums, combined with the fact that we've got some brand new, like state-of-the-art stadiums that just weren't around for the last qualifying. Q2 didn't exist. The
lower.com field.
The stadium in Cincy, the stadium in Columbus. I think the LA stadium is new. Like there's just some really incredible venues all across the country now. So you're getting this different atmosphere that wasn't present at previous World Cup qualifiers, because you're playing in these MLS stadiums where there's already a ravenous MLS fan base and already like supporters groups in those stadiums, and stadiums built for that, because you have like the standing section that's like and the TIFO stuff set up. Like you can't really have a TIFO if you're playing in like I don't know, the Superdome or something like that. But
I will say that
you can do
that definitely proved the point towards playing in smaller stadiums, like being able to pack the house with people that are serious about supporting and making noise. And
so
I
can't wait.
Looked amazing. The noise was amazing. Yeah.
I can't wait for that USA Mexico game in Cincinnati, man. I mean, just the scenes of a young 18-year-old Ricardo Pepi standing there listening to the national anthem in that stadium that's going to be packed. I mean, that's just going to be tremendous, especially if Mexico like needs points at that point.
Hey, man, anything could happen from here on out. I mean, we're both at 8 points right now. Canada's directly behind us in third place, and shout out to Canada as well.
Yeah,
they played two of their hardest away games in the US and in Mexico, and they're still undefeated in qualifying. So
Yeah,
they look
I
like
don't think
a dangerous team.
we need to talk about Canada for a second, man. I think that we've
Go
all
for it.
been downplaying Canada a little bit. Like, I don't think anybody's giving them their flowers.
Yeah.
They went to quote unquote the two toughest teams in CONCACAF away and got points. That's something that we don't even do. That's something that Mexico doesn't always do, you know? That is absolutely tremendous. And I think if you watch them play, like, there's some teams like the US, for instance. We have this superstar player in Christian Pulisic, and he's not always a superstar player for us. We're trying to figure out how to unlock him. But if you watch Canada, Alphonso Davies looms over that game like an absolute titan, and he is terrifying. It reminds me of watching Portugal with Ronaldo. You know how whenever you watch Portugal with Ronaldo, there's Portugal's always in the game, because at any point that guy can get the ball, and he doesn't miss whenever he's wearing that jersey. And it feels that way watching Canada with Alphonso Davies, where he's going to make something happen, and there's nothing you can do about it. And he did it. He did it against the United States, and he did it in Estadio Azteca. I mean, that's going to be a scary team. It's really cool to see that Canada's got a quality team. It speaks a lot for this project that MLS has with developing youth players, because a lot of those players are coming from there. And it's going to be fun to see Canada just have a quality national team. And boy, how cool would it be if Canada makes the World Cup? That would be fun.
Their fan base deserves it. And I remember a while back when MLS was developing a lot of players from the Caribbean and Central America, and there was a lot of discussion about MLS can be kind of the foundation for those countries to start raising their level. And then the next kind of natural evolution of that was, does that help or hurt the US? And it's like, does playing good competition and having, teams 4 through 8 in World Cup qualifying, is that better or worse for the US? And I think we're just seeing like the continued development of all of these teams. Even like tonight against Panama, I'm expecting a win, but I expect it because I'm optimistic and it's not going to be easy. And they're a difficult team. Like every single team in this World Cup qualifying is a quality team. Even Jamaica, like if their federation wasn't,
Jamaica's a huge one, man. Like if they could ever figure that out, the quality that they have is tremendous. And I don't know how much you've like looked into that Jamaican situation, but it's like laughable and really disappointing for what they're doing with that federation. I mean, they've got some really good players, not just really good players, but like good professional at their prime years players that we don't even have that. So if they could have just figured it out, and it's a shame it's going to take 4 more years for them to do it, but if they could figure that out, I mean, they could easily be a top 3 team in CONCACAF.
Yeah. I mean, we would be lucky to have someone scoring goals and banging them in for West Ham United in the Premier League. We'd be lucky to have Leon Bailey. We'd be lucky to have some of these players, even Andre Blake. So to have those players and not be able to put them all on the team, or even get them into your camp, even though they've committed to you, it's a tough situation. So Sam, there's a few questions in the chat. I'm going to bring some of those up, but I also want to get to some of the donations that were more recent. So Patrick, thank you so much for the $20 donation. Anonymous, 2 anonymous donations, but we are up to 43.1% of the way towards our goal. So we've now raised $431 already.
Nice.
We're less than 2 hours in. That's crazy. Thank you everyone so much for supporting so far. I think this is going to be a fun one because there's some good questions in the chat. So
I didn't even know we could see the comments. I just clicked on it. So.
we have an important question here for you. How does one achieve that perfect amount of scruff?
Use a electric razor with a 1 guard on it, and just there you go.
There you go. Easy. You don't need good jeans or anything. Just the right razor.
Yeah, that probably has a lot to do with it as well. I got some thick hair, man.
I can't say that. I can't say the same. All right, it's 10 a.m. and I'm already drunk. Please stop saying verticality. Sorry, you're gonna have to drink one more time if you're playing that game today.
I'm sorry, dude. How did you feel about the verticality? Because I was so excited just to see like a team with an idea going into that game and then seeing it play out. I don't know how many times under Berhalter I've seen that actually happen.
Yeah, I did. It's funny because I did my post game and I said something very similar, and then I watched your like after game roundup,
Uh-huh.
and we made very similar points about that. Like it was nice to know that there was a plan, which we almost always do under Berhalter. Like he's a very plan A, plan B, plan C guy, but almost never goes to plan. But the fact that we were like talking about verticality, or like in other words, playing a bit more direct or playing behind the lines, to actually see that come to fruition, it was just really nice to see that we could execute a plan really well. And even like, yeah, we can talk about Paul Arriola starting and we can talk about Zimmerman, but there was not one player on that field that didn't execute to plan, that didn't
Yeah.
play above like a 6.5 or 7 rating for me.
And I thought it took a lot of the weight off of the players' shoulders because the plan was nobody puts their foot on the ball. Like we're going, and like there are moments in the past where like I've seen like the ball get out to Anthony Robinson and he takes a second to scan the field and that's not really his thing and something bad happens. Whereas in this game, Anthony Robinson gets on the ball, head up, who's in front of him, go. And I think that created like Anthony Robinson got in behind very early on in the game, and that created an opportunity. And the players that we have are set up for that. And then you contrast that with the previous window where like Pulisic's been criticized a bunch because he was putting his foot on the ball. Like almost every time he got the ball, he would put his foot on it and try to make something happen. In that goal against Canada, he put his foot on the ball that he was taken out, and the ball squirted, I think, to Adams, and that created the opportunity. I mean, he's been criticized a bunch for the game against Honduras where he was putting his foot on the ball and like trying to take on a bunch of players. And whenever he came out of the game, the players were just going vertical, and it was so much better.
I
so
do want
hopefully,
to talk to you about that because, and maybe not right now, but eventually, whether it's today or sometime at a later date, but it is getting to be a very interesting discussion about like Robinson and Aronson had an incredibly dangerous pairing on the left side of the field. Even Paul Arriola with Yunus Musa and Serginho Dest were ridiculous in just getting the ball up the field behind the lines. Like there's something to be said about maybe Pulisic and Reyna needing to find their way back into this way of playing. And I don't really know where I stand on that, because Brendan Aronson is pretty much making a case to say he needs to be on the field. He's too good to not find a place for him. I guess, maybe let's just dive into it. I'll ask the question. Do you think Pulisic and Reyna would be on the best 11 still?
Yeah, 100%. They're way too good. They're way too good. Like Brendan Aronson's a really good player, but Pulisic and Reyna are like transcendent players. And like Reyna specifically, he's had like I think he's had 6 national team games or something like that. And in every single one, he does something incredible. Every one, he like beats a bunch of players or like creates an opportunity, or I mean, he's unbelievable. Pulisic is more of a mental thing at this point. It looks like he's trying to do way too much. But if Pulisic can ever have that switch flick in his brain, which I'm hoping is going to be the next window, where it's like just look forward, just pin your ears back and go. Don't try to create everything. Then we'll be golden. Now Reyna, on the other hand, Reyna's interesting because Reyna's not really a vertical player, right? Pulisic's definitely a vertical player, but Reyna not so much. Reyna's gonna kind of take a minute. But I saw like Tim Weah, whenever he was deployed in this offense, he didn't get vertical a lot whenever against Jamaica. He came back to the ball. Whenever he did, he was able to turn and attack space. That's not something that we really see from Brendan Aronson, and we're not going to see it from Paul Arriola either. And it worked. It worked really well. And I think that Reyna and Weah, although they're different players, like that can work. It'll be interesting to see if Reyna ever transitions into that 8 for the national team. there's an option there, certainly, especially whenever I look at I look at our eights right now, and McKinney to me is like an indispensable player at this point. Just looking at everything he did, doing all the hard work in the Jamaica game, and we're not going to have him for the next game, and that's becoming a trend because we didn't have him much in the last window.
Yeah.
I don't think that we have another player that can replace what McKinney does. Like I know we're excited about Musa, and I know we're excited about Luca De La Torre, but neither of those players brings that combination of like just class on the ball, just comfort, and then the ability to hit passes all over the place, and just everything that McKinney does. Plus, was it you who said no? Somebody else said bull in a China shop. Like he also has that.
That was not
and
me.
That's not De La Torre. Maybe that's a little bit Musa, but we just don't have that. So having that option of like Gio slipping into that position could be something that might work in the future. But also, I do think that Gio can figure it out. Like,
yeah,
I don't think that the verticality system is so complicated that Gio Reyna is not going to be able to.
Well, that's the beauty of playing that way, is when you're trying to play possession or when you're trying to disorganize the defense that way, you're trying to think about like the 2 or 3 options when you receive a ball in that space, and like who's around you, where's the defense. When you're playing more direct, there's kind of only 1 or 2 things that you can do or should do in that area. So I don't think I don't think it's going to change a ton or need a ton of development. But if he plays the 8, he doesn't really need to worry about it too much because his passing range already allows for that type of game. If he plays more kind of deep set in the midfield, to your point,
and that
Pulisic. Go ahead.
That I don't know if you remember this moment in the game where McKinney played probably the best pass of the game over the top to Musa, who chested it down, and just Musa's that's not his game. He's not going to be able to like chest it down and have a shot, but Gio Reyna can. So if that's on the table and Gio Reyna's in that 8 position and he's making that streaking run in behind, like that's a real weapon. Suddenly, we've seen him do that at Dortmund. Like he can do that.
That play was beautiful. Pepe brought the defender away. Musa saw the line to run in, and the pass was inch perfect. And the touch wasn't bad. It was just a tiny bit heavy.
I don't know. Do you ever go into the first touch spaces on Twitter?
No.
So
like being 5 hours ahead of Eastern time.
Oh yeah, true. Because they do it late
I'll wake
at night.
up in the morning at like 8 a.m. or 7 a.m. my time and see that there's Twitter spaces going. I'm like, that's insane.
Yeah, I was kind of having an argument with the first touch guys about Weston McKennie. They said he needs to be better. He's not one of the, I think they said, top 5 players on the squad right now. And to be fair, I didn't go into the spaces and hear their arguments, and maybe they had some good points. But to me, man, I mean, that Weston McKennie we have four or 5 guys that can just do something special at any point. And although they might have good games and bad games, they still possess that ability to just change the game on a dime. And there's not that many guys out there that can do that.
Yeah. I'm just enjoying the time at this point. Like, whether it's Weston McKennie, whether it's Yunus Musa, whether it's Luca De La Torre, whether it's Timothy Weah, Paul Areola, like there's no bad options. There's just options that we can argue are the best.
Matthew Hoppy,
good.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
I see Bucky Doc says mentions Weston's air power. Like that's another thing.
Yeah.
I mean
he's
just a god in the air.
Yeah. Actually elite. He might actually be elite in the air.
We won the Nations League because Weston McKennie is just better than everybody else.
That's true. That's true.
Is he? Do they still do on FIFA? Do they still do the traits where someone's an aerial threat?
I think
is Weston an aerial
threat and power header?
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
he better.
While I'm doing it, I think I saw some other questions, but I also wanted to ask you, like, was Timothy Weah in person as fast as he seemed on TV? Like, what was that like watching? Was he the most fun player to watch in person? Or
yes. And he was on my side too, like right where I was in the stadium. So I got to see him operate every time he got the ball. And yet I don't know if he's as fast as Pulisic or as quick as Pulisic. Like Pulisic's like in a different category whenever it comes to that. But he definitely has the ability to beat players one-on-one. But more than that, I think that, like I talked earlier about how Julian Araujo is an operator. Like whenever he gets into the final third, he's kind of surveying the field and taking it all in. I think Tim Weah has that same ability. There was a moment late in the game where I forget who it was, whether it was McKinney or Luca Della Torre, just slipped the ball into Weah, who was in a half space, and he turned on the ball and ran at goal. And I think he played a ball into Areola, who lost it. But we didn't see that from the other wings. Like Brendan Aronson, for as good as he is not gonna turn on the ball and run at the defense and like play a really clever ball in. And Aronson is also kind of like a one-track mind kind of guy. Like we don't really see him beat players one-on-one. You know, he's an effort guy. I hear people say that he's like
we need him to execute the plan.
He's a high-end Paul Areola, you know, yes. Like, but Weah has just so many more tools in his tool chest. And if you watch Lille and watch, especially lately, the goals that he's been setting up for Jonathan David, like he's just so damn classy, man. He's so clever. He can do so many different things. He's one of my favorite players to watch, Tim Weah.
I think he will be if he can continue to play like he did in Austin. All right. Yeah. So
what were your thoughts on do you think Weah, do you think Greg rates Areola over Weah, or do you think that was a play to save legs, or what do you think that was about?
I can't pretend to know what's happening in Greg's mind, but what I can say is that if I can see the inclusions of Zimmerman and Areola as a way to keep fresh legs against Panama and Costa Rica, but I think that it remains to be seen on what happens in these next few games. I think I'd love to see Matthew Hoppe start this game against Panama and maybe give Aronson a rest, or Weah continue to come off the bench. Like those are incredibly impactful players to be able to bring off the bench if you need a goal. Yeah. And Hoppe, I feel like, is just made for away CONCACAF games, to be honest. I feel like he's going to really
I'm worried about Hoppe's defensive effort. I don't know if he brings that. Like Weah and Aronson are both tireless workers.
Yeah.
But there is a drop-off between Weah and Aronson and everybody else. To me, when Weah stepped on the field, like he was clearly the best attacking player on that field.
Yeah. Well, I got a lot of questions after about Timothy Weah's performance just being against tired legs. And I don't know if it seemed like this in the stadium, but after we scored the first goal, it really seemed like Jamaica was just completely deflated.
Yeah.
Like they didn't even want to play.
They weren't running
on the field. Yeah. So do you think it was the case of Timothy Weah running against that team, or was that truly his skill set and his talent on display?
I mean, part of it was that, definitely, but it's the same thing that we see at Lille, like his ability to get to the end line and like, okay, maybe running past a guy is evidence of tired legs and just like being in wide open space. But if there's like a defender on him and he turns and runs at the box, like that's what a player does. You know, it's not about the tired legs on the field. So maybe outcomes are representative of tired legs, but not necessarily like the decision making of the individual player, which is what I was excited about.
And he should have had an assist if Sardes could have gotten his foot on the end.
Yeah,
of it,
man. Yeah,
what more can we say about?
I mean, there was like 3 opportunities that Weah just created in his short time on the field. I mean,
just on his own. All right, I'm going to ask you a huge favor so that I can take a restroom break real quick. Matt has asked who's in your starting 11 tonight. Do you mind giving the starting 11, or maybe if you want to keep that for your own video? You can your
I'm
thoughts.
Good. I just always struggle with like remembering all the players' names.
All right, I'm going to hop out for a second while you do that.
Let's see.
Thank you.
So, of course, we got Matt Turner in goal because Zach Steffen's not going to be here tonight. On the right, I wouldn't go with Serginho Dest. I just don't love him away in CONCACAF. I really need to see that from Serginho before I give him that opportunity. So let's go with I just really don't care between Shaq Moore and DeAndre Yedlin. Let's go with DeAndre Yedlin. Let's do Miles Robinson in the back. Now at center back, this is going to be interesting. Do you give Chris Richards his first start in this game, or do you go with Zimmerman or even McKenzie, who both are a little bit older? And Zimmerman had a really good game against Jamaica. That'll be interesting. I would like to see Chris Richards just because I really want to see Chris Richards. I think he has the opportunity to be one of the absolute top center back prospects the U.S. has ever produced. But I'll understand if they save him for that Costa Rica game. I think the Costa Rica game is like a tailor-made opportunity for Chris Richards to get his first start. But I see Robert saying McKenzie. I don't know. I just Zimmerman had such a good game. It's hard for me to not go with Zimmerman. I'll say Richards. I'll rank them as Richards 1, Zimmerman 2, McKenzie 3. I think McKenzie still every game has I'm talking about McKenzie. McKenzie still every game has some issues where he gives up opportunities, whereas Zimmerman just didn't put a foot wrong in that game against Jamaica and really didn't put a foot wrong in the Gold Cup. So I'll say Zimmerman over McKenzie. On the left, it's got to be George Bello because we don't have Anthony Robinson. I'll do Adams again in the middle. Let's do Musa and De La Torre as the eights, which will be interesting. I think that people underestimate how much Weston McKennie brings to the table in that midfield. So it'll be different to see how De La Torre and Musa work together. It might even be like Sebastian Lletget, because I think Berhalter sees Lletget as like the backup to McKennie, even though that's a pretty big drop off. Lletget can't do half the things that McKennie can do. But I'll say De La Torre and Musa, and then the front line, I'll go. The front line's tough, man. I'll say Aronson, Pepe, and Weah, and then we'll give Aronson a break in that last game.
Nice. So no Hoppy in the starting 11 for you.
I'm still out on Hoppy. I don't think Hoppy's like a starter, at least in this moment. Like I think Hoppy's going to need to come in and come in as a substitute and make it happen.
Yeah.
I think that the era of like 18-year-olds just kind of being given opportunities because of their club form in the national team is kind of slowly closing because of the players that are in front of them at this point, and also because of how important the results are. Like I know Conrad De La Fuente is a fan favorite, and I got a lot of heat for kind of against El Salvador, but like that, his game against El Salvador was just, he was absent. He wasn't there. Like he had like one moment where he dribbled a guy, but outside of that, didn't provide a whole bunch. And you contrast that with like a Paul Arriola that nobody likes and doesn't have the technical ability of Conrad De La Fuente and would never be playing at Marseille like Conrad De La Fuente. But at the same time, I mean, I was listening to Landon Donovan speak about this very subject after the game in one of the post-game podcasts, and he said he reiterated what I've heard over and over again from coaches, which Landon is right now, which is that you would prefer as a coach to have a guy that gives you a 7 every game as opposed to a guy that gives you a 9 one game and a 4 the next game and a 6 the next game, especially whenever you're away in CONCACAF or World Cup qualifiers. So like that's where
high floor, low ceiling.
Yeah. So that's where players like Hoppy and Conrad and these young players, like that's where you have to deliver. I understand that they're capable of bringing in the 9 game, the 9 out of 10 game and just like turning the game upside down. But at the same time, they're also capable of turning in real duds. And in this point, we just can't have a dud. So that's where a coach would rather have a guy like Arriola, who's just going to run and literally try to, he tackled a Jamaican player with his head at one point. Like he just threw his body into like,
On
I know
replay,
that
though,
nothing.
yeah.
Yeah, I know that nothing came of it. I know that we didn't get any direct goals and assists from those moments, but we could have. Like,
I
we
did like
created
seeing that wrestling
opportunities.
move. He looked
Yeah,
like Rey Mysterio Jr. on that play, doing crazy horizontal flips. But yeah, I think that
exactly.
starting 11 so do you expect that starting 11, if they did go with that, to get a result tonight?
I think that a lot of starting 11s could get a result tonight for the U.S. Um, I think that the squad, now that they've been through one window of World Cup qualifying, they've already played 2 games. They had the game against Jamaica where they've gained a little bit of confidence. I do think that they're a better squad now than they were in that last window, and I do think that they can go in and get a result against Panama, a Panama side that's not one of the stronger ones in
Yeah.
this World Cup qualifying group.
Fair.
So
And
yeah,
coming off a not great result for themselves
I don't
as
think that
well.
the result is like dependent on the lineup. I think that there's a bunch of different lineups that Berhalter could go with. Like, I named those 3 center backs. Like, any one of those 3 center backs would be fine. Like,
Yeah, I kind of felt that way against Jamaica as well.
yeah,
Like, yeah, you can argue Ariel and Zimmerman, but look at the result and look at the performance from each player. All right, so here's a more fun one. So Preston asked if Pete from 11 Yanks and Filippo, tactical manager, are Pulisic and Reina of the USA Soccer YouTube. Who are your channels?
I don't know, man. I'd like to be Tyler Adams in any circumstance.
who I
I'd
was
like to
gonna
be
pick.
Tyler Adams. I'm certainly not the McKinney. I don't have that kind of sauce.
No, there's no flair here. there's consistent rationality, and that is Tyler Adams in a YouTube channel.
Yeah,
So I
maybe
don't
the
I don't
Miles
know if we could.
Robinson. How about that?
Nice. All right, I'll let you take Miles, and I'll take Adams.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you would. You all are the Matt Turners. Okay.
I mean, I meant to be doing like I was trying to get different goals in mind for once we pass different thresholds throughout the day. Like, what could I do to get more engagement for people? And I was thinking every $100 I would wear a new jersey, and then maybe we'd have a giveaway or something. So let me know in the comments if you do want to do something like that. But I have basically a stack of 10 jerseys next to me. And I have my Tyler Adams one.
Wow.
That's getting ready maybe for when we switch streams on this next one.
I see a comment. Can I click on these? James Long.
Just let me know which one.
James Long, Devil's Advocate here.
Yes, go for it.
Yeah, I see this point a lot, that we need the top tier talent to beat a team in the World Cup, and I think it's important to say that the World Cup and World Cup qualifying are different animals, and that's something that's been expressed by every pundit and every former player. Like, the players, some of the players that are having issues in World Cup qualifying, like a Serginho Dest, are not going to have those same issues in the World Cup, where they're going to be playing in these weird state-of-the-art air-conditioned stadiums in Qatar. Like, it's going to be a whole different thing. Nobody's worried about Serginho Dest in the World Cup. We're worried about him in World Cup qualifying. Different animals. So I think that there's going to be different players that you need and are going to rely on during World Cup qualifying than when we get to the big show in the actual World Cup. So I don't think it's blasphemy to say that, like, Areola is a World Cup qualifying player while Conrad might be a World Cup player. But at the same time, boy, you look at this in the World Cup. We don't know how many players they're going to be bringing to the World Cup. Traditionally, it's a 23. And if you look at the wingers, I mean, if Reina is a winger and you got Pulisic, Reina, Weah, and Aronson, Conrad doesn't have a lot of opportunity to get in there if everybody's healthy. So he needs to not be on the bench for Marseille if he wants to, like, contribute to this group at the World Cup. And then you consider, like, the way that the U.S. has been developing players. There might be a 17-year-old phenom that emerges by the time the World Cup comes around. We still got enough time for that. So it's not like a given that Conrad's like the next big thing and he's going to be better than Weah and Aronson at this point. Weah and Aronson are playing very, very good. So there's just so much consternation and concern talking about like the fifth or sixth choice winger at this point. It's like,
I think that's best case scenario for us. The fact that we're not really missing out from not having Conrad on the roster and allowing him to, like, we're basically saying to him, be more consistent in your production, be a more high value player for your team at your club, and we'll call you in when we trust you to do that on a consistent basis. And that's to our benefit when we have 4 or 5 other wingers in that position that do bring that value to this team at the moment.
yeah.
And it was great to see as well against Jamaica just how balanced our team was. Like, yes, we were playing behind the lines, we were playing vertical, but we also had some possession. We also had points where we gave Musa the ball and asked him to beat a player on a dribble and create overloads that way. I just thought Jamaica had real issues dealing with how diverse our attacking styles were throughout the game. I'm just reading through these. Brooks said you're all Matt Turners. I want to know what you mean by that, Brooks. Are we the defenders of the U.S. men's national team community? Robert, you said, I think both of you know I'm the biggest Adams fan. If Adams isn't one of your favorite players, then you're doing something wrong for the U.S. men's national team. Kind of looks like him. I don't know which one that was. Sam is Timothy Weah. He's got that clean and fresh production value. Completely agree with that. If you guys don't know or aren't subscribed to Sam's channel, you can find the best visuals, audios, everything on his channel.
Audios.
Audios. That's why my audios aren't the best, because I don't even know the word for it. Miguel Benitez Jr., you said no disrespect to the others, but these 2 guys are actually my favorite U.S. men's national team YouTubers. Thank you very much, Miguel. All right, Robert, you said if you guys were drafting a U.S. men's national team against each other, who would your first pick be if you had number 1 overall? That's a very interesting question. And where my mind goes is, well, obviously Pulisic or Reina are 2 of the best players, and one of them needs to be in the top 2. But then my mind also goes, you could probably build a team around Tyler Adams, or if Weston McKennie develops. There's something to be said there.
I'd have to think about that, because if you don't get Adams, then I wouldn't play a 4-3-3. I'd probably play something different. But we have enough center backs to play like a 3-man back line or like a double pivot or something else. I mean, I think Pulisic and Reina are just clear as attacking players above everybody else. So you'd have to get one of them. I wouldn't want you to get both. There'd be a lot of game theory going on. Like what pick I have.
Yeah, true.
If I have first pick, then I could get Adams, and then you could pick Pulisic or Reina, and then I could get Pulisic or Reina. But if you have first pick and you pick Pulisic or Reina, then I have to pick the other one, and you can get Adams. Like, that's tough.
I think would you say then that the top 3 most important players for the U.S. are pretty set at this point?
I think so, and I think it's dependent on the replacement value, because Tyler, there's just not, like, Kellen Acosta is the other defensive midfielder, and there's a big drop off between Tyler and Kellen Acosta. That has a lot to do with it. Like we used to think that the drop off between John Brooks and everybody else was tremendous, and now it's not the case anymore. So he's not as valuable. And then like even Pulisic and Reina, like the drop off to like Aronson and Weah is not as significant. Maybe like Ricardo Pepe's like joining into that, where like the drop off between Pepe and the next best striker is far.
What did you think about, just going on that, what did you think about Josh Sargent and Jordan Pefok not being on this roster?
I thought it was warranted. I thought I'm not as big on Pefok. I think Pefok's a very limited player. Like you have to be playing a specific kind of way in order to like get the most out of him. If you're not just banging in crosses left and right, then you're not playing Pefok to to the way he should be played. I don't think he offers you a whole bunch of movement or anything like that. Like, he's pretty much going to be static at the center and try to be a hold-up guy. And that's not really the way we play. So I wasn't surprised that PFOC was left out. Sargent, I said he should be left out in my preview video, just because he's not getting it done. And I think over the course of the last 2 years with the national team, or certainly over the course of this year, 2021, the team has created chances in a lot of games. There has been chance creation, but Sargent has just not put any of those chances away. Does he even have a goal in this year? I'm not sure.
Just in the cup games, not in the Premier League?
No, I'm talking about for the national team. Like,
okay.
He hasn't put any of those chances away. We've created chances and half chances and stuff for Sargent, and he's just rarely dangerous. And for a team that has been struggling to get goals, to have a striker up top that's not scoring goals, it's just a recipe for frustration. So I was not surprised, and especially whenever you contrast that with Ricardo Pepi, who in the game against Jamaica had 3 chances and 2 goals. You know, in his national team career, he's only had a handful of chances and he's got 3 goals. Like, if you're Josh Sargent, yeah, you bring a lot to the table, but if you're not contributing in the way that actually matters, then you're opening the door for somebody to come along and take that spot from you. So I wasn't surprised, and I think that Pepe's had an immediate impact on the way that this team plays. It's so much more free flowing and happy, it looks like, on the field, because you get that feeling that if Anthony Robinson or Dest are streaking up the sideline and they put in a cross, like, something can actually happen from that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we only have a few more minutes before Meg, who is a friend of both channels, joins us. So we'll let you go. But I guess one last question here from Matt. Is there a player who we haven't already seen that you think has a chance at the final 23 for Qatar?
I think the easy one is Joe Scally, for sure. We've seen what he brings. I mean, the thing about, like, questions like this is, like, it really depends on how tuned in you are to the national team. Like, I have a feeling if you're watching our channels, then you probably have a pretty good grasp on, like, the 60-man depth chart for the national team. So it's not like I'm going to pull out some name.
1% of fandom.
Yeah.
If you're watching YouTube videos of people talking.
Another one would be like Caden Clark. I mentioned earlier that once we lose Weston McKennie, there's just not another player that can, like, control the ball in the midfield the way that Weston McKennie does for us. Like, Caden Clark could potentially be that player, and he's going to get that move to Leipzig next season, where he could potentially be at Leipzig, or he could be getting loaned out to somewhere else and just be an operator in the midfield. So if he has, like, a similar trajectory to, like, Brendan Aronson, where he just rises up that little bit in consistency and quality, he could definitely be in the mix, because the drop off between Weston McKennie and, say, like Sebastian Lletget is, like, in that 8 mix. Can Caden Clark raise his level to where he's consistently better than Sebastian Lletget? I don't think that gap is, like, insurmountable. Can he be consistently better than Luca De La Torre is a fresh face in the midfield, but or even Christian Roldan in the midfield? Can he be consistently better than those guys? I think I think he can. So he's a guy that could potentially be on that World Cup qualifying 23.
Nice. I did see a comment from Jonathan Walker that said, if Sam, Jake, Filippo, and Pete all do a 4-way U.S. men's national team player pool draft and each pick a starting 11, then debate whose team wins in each matchup, I think that would be a really fun exercise. But we have to find time when all 4 of us would be available, and that's already a nightmare with everyone being so busy. But that is a great idea. I would love to do that at some point. But yeah, Sam, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for doing the majority of talking and giving me a break. I really do appreciate that. While you say goodbye, like, anything else that was on your mind or anything you wanted to talk about for your channel coming up?
I don't know, man. I'm just excited for the game tonight. I mean, these World Cup windows are so crazy. It's tough as a creator, as a YouTube creator, because like you get such a small window of when to post videos. Like my intention was to make a brief video in Austin and then come back home and make like a more detailed recap.
Mhm.
But like yesterday I get to the office and I would realize like, man, I wouldn't be posting this video till like 9 o'clock on Saturday night. And then nobody would care about the Jamaica game. All anybody cares about is the Panama game at that point. So like it's expired. But as a fan, there's like, you have this like great moment where you get the game, you get all the post game content, and then already it's like time for the next game. So it's just so much fun. So I'm hoping for another great display. I'm hoping for another CONCACAF away team to turn on their team and start olaying the US.
There we go. That's the dream.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think we have one extra day between this game and the Costa Rica game. So you might get your chance to do post-game preview, all of it.
Yeah.
I was saying on my stream when I was playing FIFA the other day that if it's difficult for content creators to turn around and do post-game recaps, then a preview, then imagine how it is playing 90 minutes and actually having to travel and play these games. If it's crazy for us, I'm sure it's insane for these players having to
absolutely,
do that.
Man. Especially,
Sam.
No, you go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna. I don't want to keep you too long. So I was gonna say goodbye, unless you had other. But I'm happy for you to continue to talk.
Yeah, I see. Brooks Durham said Paxton Aronson had himself quite a night. Like that's another name. The thing about the squad though is the squad is kind of filling out, and the young players are turning into slightly older young players. So it just makes it that much more difficult to break into the squad as opposed to as it was for like a player like Tim Weah. Like Tim Weah, whenever he was at PSG, was already better than our other options. Like we just didn't have that many options at that particular time and space in the U.S. men's national team world. I don't think that we're going to see a time like that for another like decade or so, where any young player that shows promise is already is able to jump into the national team, especially because of where we are in the cycle, where we got the World Cup coming up. Maybe after this window, but even after this window, how many players are like actually going to be retiring from the team, and like how many spaces are going to be opening up? Maybe John Brooks. You know, there's just not going to be a lot of
2 players basically that could potentially leave this team.
If you're going to take a spot from a player now, you either got to come into the squad and whenever you get your opportunity, like ball out, or you've got to be like a Champions League. I'm sorry, saying Champions League is not enough because there's players that are playing in Champions League that are like low tier. Like you got to be like a top 16 Champions League knockout round.
Now.
Yeah. You got to be a knockout round Champions League player in order to come in and like be even a member of the squad. Because is Lille a knockout round team?
Well, this is their first. So they just won the French league.
Yeah,
they haven't been in the Champions League for a while.
Yeah, we got guys that are on Champions League squads that are not considered starters for the national team. Like it's getting more and more difficult to come into the squad. So just being like Paxton Aronson and having a nice moment in MLS is not going to get you that opportunity. Even Ricardo Pepi, who's like the star of the team right now, he needed Giassi's artist to get injured right before call up to make that space for him, and then he needed Josh Sargent to just not look good and PFOC to just not be the answer in order for him to get that opportunity against Honduras. And what did he do whenever he got that opportunity? He seized it, man. He grabbed it. He took that goal. He created some other opportunities for others. And now look at him. That's what you got to do. It's like speaking of Conrad again, it's you're not just going to get a bunch of opportunities with the squad. You got to come in and seize those opportunities. I need to get out of here. I'm taking Meg's time.
Yes, no worries. All right. Thanks so much for joining, Sam. Really appreciate it. Enjoy the game tonight.
Absolutely, and, Jake. Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah. See ya.
Later.
All right. We are going to be on to the next segment. I'm just chatting with Meg on what's happened, trying to get her on. It seems like She's trying to enter, but it won't let her turn her camera on. So we're going to try and get the technical glitches out of the way. But guys, why don't we take this moment to just throw some questions in the chat for Meg. She is a very talented journalist and writer that's covering CONCACAF right now. She was at the Mexico game a few days ago against Canada. She's now in Panama covering the U.S. men's national team. So if she is able to get into the room, she, I'm sure, will be more than happy to ask all of your questions about press conferences, questions that Greg is answering, things that are maybe lesser known from the players out there as well. And just to kind of refresh what this day is all about, if you're new here, we are U.S. men's national team channel. My name is Jake. You're watching FIFAmerica. And really all we're doing today is a 12-hour stream to raise money for Open Goal Project. It is an incredible organization that is trying to remove or lower the barriers of pay to play for kids in more diverse, underserved communities. So all of the money today that we're raising, you can either scan the QR code that's at the top right of the screen to get to the donation page, or what's scrolling across the bottom, givebutter.com/FIFAmerica. That's the way that you can get to the page as well. So right now we're just waiting for a friend of the channel, Meg Swanick, to join in, and we should have her shortly on the channel. So I'm just going to go through a few more donations. One of the anonymous donations was, we can all get behind efforts like this from Open Goal Project. My club, Detroit City, is doing a ton to get soccer going in African-American communities, so I'm happy to help with your similar efforts. Thank you so much to whoever that was that donated. And Chase, you donated $25. You said, love the mission, love the content. If Giassi scores tonight, I'll double my donation. All right, I hope he scores a hat trick, buddy. And we can all melt down on Twitter about Giassi Zardes scoring a hat trick, or scoring any goals for that matter, for the U.S. men's national team. So if you don't know the schedule for today, you can find it in the description. But also, we will be talking to Meg Swanick next. She is, again, a writer, journalist that's in Panama. After that, we'll be playing the States United FIFA 22 career mode for a few hours. Then at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, Belz from Scuffed Podcast is going to join us for about an hour or so. And then from that, we're going to get into the Panama game. So maybe a few more hours of FIFA, just waiting for the rosters to drop. And then we are going to do basically our pregame before the Panama game. We're going to do a watch-along party. So if you want to kind of hang out here while we're all watching the game together, we will be here live watching the game, and then an hour post-game as well. So I think some of the pod buddies, Ryan and Tom, might join us for some of those. And yeah, we're just going to have fun today. We're going on over 2 hours now that we've been live. I'm feeling pretty good at the moment, but I need everyone's help to continue to just ask more questions and keep this engaging for the time being. So we're going to hopefully see Meg soon. US Soccer Fan, thanks for the question. Said Panama is known to have a physical group. Will Richards or McKenzie be more likely to start than Bello to have more physical presence? I think we've obviously seen Greg take into account a lot of different factors, including physicality, and that can be one of the reasons that Walker Zimmerman started the game against Jamaica. So I could absolutely see a case where potentially McKenzie is in the starting lineup. I do think Bello has not enough of a physical presence for CONCACAF, but the only way to help that is just to throw him in the deep end and hope that he learns and gets some experience. Have you heard the Belz song, Oh Gianluca, about Busio? I've seen it on Twitter, Sam. I've seen it all over Twitter, but I haven't actually listened to it yet. So maybe we'll listen as a group, as a chat. We can all listen to that and get a feel for the song. All right. And Miguel, I see your question about Azteca. We're definitely going to wait for Meg to get in here to talk about that. And Panama has been trying to play more of a possession style recently. They've definitely been trying to get a lot more youth into the team. And I'm a bit less worried about the game tonight because who I've seen to be their best player, Andres Andrade, who played 90 minutes for their first 3 World Cup qualifying games, doesn't seem to be on the roster for tonight. He scored a goal against Jamaica and had a man of the match performance at that point. So, Meg, I see you joined in the waiting room. Are you good to be brought on? I can't hear you, so you just need to give me a thumbs up or All right, cool. Hello. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. Having some technical difficulty that I'm trying to figure out. So I'm on my phone. I don't know if you can tell, but let's see if I can get it on my laptop. Is this view okay though for now?
Yeah. Go vertical. You're with the
Yeah.
times now. So Meg, how are you?
Yeah.
We have lots of questions for you.
Good. I hope so. I'm good. I'm running around like crazy a little bit this morning, to be honest with you, just getting my first coffee, trying to get things together, but I'm really excited. Excited to be in Panama and excited to be back with the US today. I was in Mexico for the last game, so really enjoyed the game at Azteca, but it feels good to be able to see the US in person tonight.
Yeah, so tell us about your experience over the last week or so. I know you spent a good amount of time in Mexico and then moving over to Panama for the US game. What was it like just covering maybe a different team in CONCACAF?
Yeah, it was amazing. I've been to Mexico. I've been fortunate to go to Mexico a few times. I have family that lives in Mexico City, and Mexico City itself, just outside of football or covering matches, is one of my favorite places on earth. I really can't recommend going there enough. If anybody hasn't been or is thinking about going for potentially when the US is there in March, it's an incredible city. Everyone's very welcoming. And I obviously, as a reporter, I'm interested not just in the US, even though that's my main focus, but in CONCACAF as a whole. The progression that different teams are taking, and then a lot of the underlying societal and geopolitical and cultural things behind the entire region and how football or soccer plays into that. So it was really enjoyable for me to spend a few weeks in Mexico, specifically getting into a few different places. I also went to Puebla and Cholula, and spend most of my time in Mexico City talking to a lot of people. And I enjoyed getting their perspective on a few different things, related mostly to football, but not limited to football. And people were very honest and open to my questions. And the games I went to a few different Liga MX matches. And I also went to a women's match, which was really interesting for a few different reasons. And, incredible atmospheres, very different atmospheres, each of the different clubs. And then it all culminated with the Mexico-Canada match at Azteca, which, that stadium is, as a huge fan of just the sport, like walking in, it's electric. The atmosphere is incredible. It's enormous. You're just like encased in this bubble of energy, and it's so incredible to be there in person. And the game was incredible. Really cool to see Canada and Mexico playing each other in person. Yeah, and really welcoming fans and atmosphere as well. So during the match, outside of watching it, I did a good bit of walking around the stadium actually and just talking to people. And I definitely stuck out, and people would just like hail me down and like want a photo or to know if I was from Canada. And like in the stadium, like I watched from a few different parts, like people, I think they thought I was Canadian, and people would like tap me on the shoulder and they'd be like, "It's okay, you can cheer for Canada if you want to." And I was like, "Oh, I'm actually not from Canada, but I appreciate that." So like very safe and friendly atmosphere.
The Azteca is one of the few places in North and Central America where I feel like it's truly a legendary ground for soccer in CONCACAF. And I love to hear just the way you describe going in there, feeling the bubble of energy. We did have a question about that as well. So Miguel said, has Azteca lost its weight since the remodel for the NFL games? It doesn't feel like the same maybe old stadium setup.
It's a really good question. I haven't been there in person until this past month, so I can't compare from personal experience. I think that the atmosphere is incredible. I don't know, there's so many variables that play into the atmosphere of a crowd and whether the weight is at the height of what it has been in the past or not, and what contributes to that. So, I was there for 2 different matches, one being the Canada-Mexico match. And I would say, the atmosphere was incredible. I don't know that it was quite as intimidating in terms of the crowd and the level of noise as San Salvador was, actually. I think that crowd playing the US and that atmosphere was probably more intimidating for the players on the field. So I'm not sure if that answers the question fully, but I do think that a lot is said about how intimidating it is there, and I think it was high energy, but I don't think it was quite the height of what I've experienced ever in my life, and even I think San Salvador outdid it.
Gotcha. So I know I want to get to the US game, but I also just want to make sure that we highlight anything that you saw, whether it was from like the soccer culture within Mexico or some of the other maybe geopolitical pieces that you talked about. Like, are there any highlights that we as fans maybe aren't getting the insight into that you want us to know about or to be able to talk about?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think one thing that I was getting from a lot of people I talked to is a lot of fans. I think a lot is said about fans of the Mexican team or fans in Mexico and it being like too dangerous or too scary, and the fans are antagonistic. And I think a lot of the fans are aware of that, and they don't resent it. I don't know if resent is the word, but they definitely wanted to set the record straight that you can go to their matches and you're not going to get a hard time. And I think that was really my experience going to a few different matches, including but not limited to the World Cup Qualifier against Canada. I think it's even now, on Twitter, I'm seeing people say oh, I wanted to go when the US is there, but I'm too scared. And to me, it's there's not really anything to be scared of, I don't think.
Yeah. I just wish more people could hear that and could understand what it actually looks like to go to one of these games as an away fan. Because I'm assuming now you have a lot of experience in a few different places, a few different countries, a few different stadiums. Is there anything else, any other feeling like being an away fan in a CONCACAF World Cup qualifying game?
Yeah, that's another good question.
I've got zingers today, Meg.
Say that again. Sorry, I think
I've got all this.
Can you still hear me?
That's okay. Yeah, I can still hear you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I just said, yeah. Go ahead.
Sorry, everything technical breakdown this morning.
That's okay.
So, in terms of being an away fan, I think there's a special camaraderie built amongst away fans when they're traveling away, which is really unique and exciting. So, for example, I'll be in the press box tonight, but last evening I went and I joined the American Outlaws Night Before party, which was really interesting and fun to see some familiar faces. And I've seen faces who I met in Kansas City or who I met in Austin during the Gold Cup, and it's nice to see them again in Panama. And I think I have some. I know, Jake, you live in the UK. I have a lot of friends that I've met. I used to live in the UK as well, who say this as well, that their favorite thing is being at away games, actually. They prefer the away to the home because they like getting yelled at, and it kind of gets them going. And then when people yell at them, they yell louder. And I think that's true of US games as well. There's something really exciting about being outnumbered, which is maybe a strange thing to say if you've not experienced it before, but it's fun. And I think it can be intimidating too, but sometimes that adds to the energy of it. And I think over the decades, like the atmosphere might have evolved somewhat in CONCACAF in terms of, I have heard stories from like people who've been doing this since the 90s about, maybe they had some tense encounters as away fans in CONCACAF before, but I think now it's mostly just friendly antagonism for the most part from what I've experienced and seen. And I think that it's just a lot of fun to be outnumbered and in that close-knit group of fans.
Yeah, maybe more banter these days. So there's some good questions in the chat, and so I'll just try and get through some of these. So guys, make sure if you do have questions for Meg, she is covering the U.S. men's national team in Panama today. She'll be in the press box, I'm assuming in a lot of the press conferences that'll happen throughout as well. So make sure you put any of your questions or comments in the chat. So Preston asks, Jake and Meg, the quality of CONCACAF is always in flux. What teams are on the rise and which ones are falling down the board? Meg, are you still with us? Oh, we've lost Meg. Oh, are you back?
I think I'm back. I'm still working on my computer background too, so let's see if one works or the other, but I'm here.
Okay, I can hear you and I can see you now. Do you want to take this question, which was basically the quality of CONCACAF is always in flux. What teams are on the rise and which ones are falling?
Yeah, so is this Preston asking Jake and Meg, the quality of CONCACAF is always in flux. What teams are on the rise and which ones are falling down the board? Yeah, that's a good question. There's been some surprises actually from what I was predicting before all of this started. I had Jamaica playing a lot better and performing a lot better than they've been in the octagonal, which has been interesting. And I think they have a lot of talent on paper, and I think Jamaica is one of the most interesting teams in terms of the talent that they do have and expectations associated to that, and then how poorly they've been performing. I think there's a few factors contributing to that. One is coaching. Another is, bringing players, travel related, honestly, just like logistics of getting people back to Jamaica and whether they can logistically or how they're traveling back. And I also wonder too, like, I think that certain teams, the Honduran team or El Salvador, the players just are putting like their whole life on the line for these matches. And I'm not getting that vibe from some of the players for Jamaica for a few reasons. And I think that might be contributing to it as well. So yeah, just a little caveat about Jamaica. I think they're an interesting case because they're bottom of the table, and I wasn't entirely expecting that. In terms of how CONCACAF is changing, I mean, I think the biggest change is Canada. They looked incredible, and seeing them in person as well. I mean, they took points from Mexico and the U.S. away. They have an incredible coach in John Herdman. I'm a fan. He's a bit of a troll, to be honest with you. He's coming for the region, but I kind of like the energy that he brings. And Alphonso Davies is the best player in the region. He's incredible to see in person. So I think the rise of Canada has been remarkable. Other shifts in the table, I mean, go ahead.
We're like 3 seconds apart, so I'm trying to allow the full time for the answer. But yeah, I think I can completely agree with Canada and Jamaica kind of being the top movers, at least in terms of how far they are compared to where I thought they would be at this point. I think Canada is essentially very comfortable in their World Cup qualifying at this point. They've played their 2 hardest away games already and gotten points from both of those. So Canada is quite far along in their journey to qualify for the World Cup in my eyes.
I think there's still a lot left to be played. I think Canada's going to Qatar and have been really exciting to see perform and improve as they have been. And yeah, I think Jamaica's performance at the bottom and then Canada moving toward the top. I mean, again, anything could happen. they're not that far out in terms of points. They could still drop and underperform, as could, other teams. But in the middle of the table, I mean, I think Costa Rica has been interesting because they used to be a bit of a CONCACAF powerhouse, but they're not doing as well right now. I think that they're maybe in the middle of generations and in need of bringing in new. So I think they're interesting as well for maybe not being quite at the level that they used to be.
Yeah. All right. So a different kind of question is asking about Mexican fans and their feelings towards the infamous homophobic chant. If so, if you're able to talk to them about that, I think you did mention that a few of them just wanted you to know that they don't jive with that. That they're not down with it. What were their thoughts in the stadium when you talked specifically about that?
Yeah, I mean the chant. So I something, and I need to go back and rewatch because I had posted a video on my Twitter of like the play just before they stopped the match, because they did stop the match for the chant. I hadn't heard it until they stopped, and I actually talked to a few people who were nearby me, and I was like, "Did you hear anything?" And they were like, "No, I didn't hear anything." And people wrote on my Twitter that like it was not the play I had posted, but the play just before that. And so I do want to go back and like rewind a little bit and see if I can hear it. In the stadium, I didn't hear it until after they stopped it. To be clear though, it definitely happened. But what I thought was interesting was that they stopped the match, and like it probably did happen, but it wasn't that audible. But then after they stopped the match, it was almost like the crowd got going a little bit. And then I definitely heard it a few times after they had stopped the match. So whether that was like happening more or with more energy, stopping the match didn't work.
Gotcha.
In terms of fans and asking the fans, I think that they don't, I think people will, like, if you ask them and they know that you're a reporter or you're from the US, they're going to somewhat tailor what they're saying. And I can see that, we should do that. It's not a good, I think they get that in terms of, I think that people think it's offensive. They're like, it's call people or something like that. And I don't think that they put as much weight to the word from the people that I talk to. And so they're like, what's the big deal kind of thing. It's just in jest kind of thing. And that was a lot of the vibe that I got.
Okay. All right. So Meg, as someone who has been to many different stadiums and games, do you think that not having one stadium to host every national team game like Wembley or Azteca hurts the U.S. men's national team?
I've thought about this a lot, and yes and no. So where I say yes is that I do think that having that one national stadium contributes to the legend of it and the aura of it for fans, for players. Everybody gets familiar there. I think that they have more energy there. I think that there is a lot gained and would gained in having a national stadium. Where I say no is that when it comes to the US, where would you put it? And I feel like they would put it in Kansas City or like Columbus or something. And I don't know that I like that the US moves it, not just because I don't want to have to travel to Kansas City every time I want to see the US play, but I like generally about varied cultures and varied sporting cultures, and then that gets brought into the stadium. And I think that what is lost potentially with not having that national stadium is gained in having all these different atmospheres contribute to the US when they go to all the different regions to play.
Yeah, I completely agree. Meg, would you mind going audio only? Because I think your connection is having issues.
On the coast New York or but
All right, hopefully this works a bit better. Meg, are you still here? Can you hear me? Oh no.
yeah. Turn off.
Can you hear me, Meg? All right, we'll see if she's able to join back. But those are some great questions, guys. I see Meg is using auto-tune. Yeah, I mean, I think her computer was giving her issues, so she was joining on her phone. Jason, what's up, man? How are you? Thanks so much for joining, guys. Really appreciate it. While Meg gets herself set back up, and Meg, if you can hear me, just let me know you're back in. But we did have another donation come through. We're now over 50% towards our goal of raising $1,000 for the Open Goal Project today, which is amazing. Thank you guys so much for all of the support. Ray, you said FIFA needs something new for punishment for the chant. Just stopping the game hurts the momentum potentially for the opponent. Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said that one thing they were talking about was just not having games with fans in the stadium. Can you hear me, Meg? Meg. Hello.
See me?
It's very choppy. Just barely sometimes. All right. Meg, can you hear me? All right, I'm just going to remove you from the screen for a second, but if you can hear me or if you get stuff working, feel free to join back in. All right, guys, give me 1 second. Alrighty, let's get back to it. Yeah, when they had the chant in the Gold Cup, I think it was the Gold Cup or maybe it was the Nations League, there was talk about playing without fans. So we'll see what happens for FIFA. And guys, Meg will be back if she can get some for audio working. There's a private chat feature in this streaming software, so she'll let me know if she can get that ready. But yeah, I think FIFA needs to crack down on that a bit more. Let's see if this works. Meg, are you there now? No. It's all good. It's all good. FIFA did do something new. They punished the Mexican women team. I don't think that actually happened, did it? Anonymity? I don't think they actually punished the women's team. That would have been one of the most ridiculous things of all time if that happened. Jason, yes, the super chats go towards the Open Goal Foundation as well, right? So yeah, guys, for anyone that I would say I prefer that Meg might be back now. So let me just answer this question really quickly. So the easiest way to donate to the Open Goal Project is kind of first, if you want to donate specifically to this event, you can scan the QR code at the top of the screen or go to the URL that's scrolling across the bottom. If you want to donate outside of this event, you can go to opengoalproject.org and donate directly to the charity itself. Or like Jason said, any super chats today, any YouTube memberships, if anyone becomes a member, or Patreon, all of those will go to Open Goal as well. I'll make a matching donation at the end of the day for any of the super chats, but I would say only do super chats if you guys want to. The money would be better spent going towards Open Goal Project through the donation links, just because YouTube takes some of the super chat money. But if you guys want to do super chats, then that's totally fine. All right. So Meg, are you back? Can you hear me? Hello. Meg, can you hear me?
Are there two of me now?
I just have your audio up, but there are two of you.
Okay, which one?
I just have your audio up, so nobody can see you. All right, you're back. Maybe.
This is the last time Jake has me come to stream. God, am I back?
You are, yes.
No.
Okay.
Okay.
I think it's just like a few seconds disjointed.
Sorry about that, everybody.
No, it's no worries at all. It's no worries at all. I'm just going to put this up here, which is that bummer about the technical problems. Meg is a great expert on CONCACAF. All right, so Meg, hopefully you can hear this part. I'm just going to say the question and then leave you like 5 minutes to talk about it. But what are some of the prevailing storylines within the U.S. men's national team camp? Like, what have you been seeing from the player interviews, or maybe something that Greg is talking about now that we're moved on to the Panama game? Like, what are some of those stories that we should be thinking about as fans? All right, we might have lost Meg again. All right, it'll just be me for a bit. I will say many, many, many great things about Meg. Meg, if you can hear me, it is all good. Thank you so much for coming. If you get like a better connection, or if you think it's working now, just let me know in the private chat. You can type it in the streaming software. But I don't want you to have to keep worrying about this since you are covering the game today. I will say so many great things. I'm going to put Meg's Twitter handle as well in the chat so you guys can go follow her. But we were just happy to be blessed with her coming on for a bit and technology allowing us to talk with her for a few minutes. I'm just sending her chat real quick. All right. Yeah, it did seem like it was working when it was just her audio, but I don't think we could figure out a way to get it just to be, because I don't have like admin features to just take off the video. So really sorry about that, guys. But I will put Meg's Twitter handle in the chat right now. And you absolutely need to go follow her. You can go see interviews with her on my channel, on Sam's channel, on Yank Report. She has another great interview with Sam there. All right, one more try. Let's see if this works. Hey, Meg, you're back. Can you hear me?
Hi, guys. Fingers crossed. Yes. Can you hear me?
Awesome. Yes, we can. It seems a lot better now. It's all good. No worries at all.
Don't jinx it.
All right.
What were we talking about? I completely forget.
So my last question was more just around the US camp now. Like, what are some of the prevailing storylines now that we're in Panama? Greg talked about before the Jamaica game, just taking it one game at a time. And he talked a lot about verticality and all those other things going into the Jamaica game. Like, what's kind of the storyline now that's prevailing from the Panama game?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think the word I'm hearing most now this game rather, is his other favorite word, which is balance. And I think that we're going to see with that balance is balancing the games, balancing the players, balancing their playing time. I think we're going to see a lot of rotation tonight in terms of the starting lineup. I don't think he'll rotate all of it. He's holding his cards pretty close to the chest in terms of who he will start. And, media during the press conference and outside of it definitely asked a lot of questions trying to get out of him, like who will be starting? Will we see any fresh faces? Will we see Matthew Hoppe in there? And he's pretty vague with his responses and not giving any hints. So I'm not sure. I have my guesses, but he keeps reiterating the importance of balance. And so I'm in terms of the players that he brought here and who we're going to see on the field. So I wouldn't be surprised if we're seeing a lot of new faces in the starting lineup tonight. I think as well, in terms of Panama as a team and how they play, they're a very defensively strong team, and Greg really emphasized a lot of how well they defend, and he mentioned that they were the team in the octagonal who had the lowest number of expected goals. So I think he's expecting that we're not going to get a lot of chances to score, that we need to work hard to create those chances and then really capitalize when they do arrive. So I think that's interesting as well, is how we're going to approach a team that we know is so defensively strong and that we're not going to get that many chances out of them. It'll be a low-scoring affair, I think.
All right. Well, we'll wait to see tonight then. So I guess covering the team so closely and from the location, it sounds like you're expecting a lot of rotation tonight for the team.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll see some of the same starting lineup. It'll be interesting to see who he does put in there. I'm personally excited, for example, to see Matthew Hoppe get a chance as the striker and to start. But how do you take Ricardo Pepi out after his last match? And so I think it'll be interesting to see what he does there. I think it'll be Pepi, but it'll be interesting to see where he puts or doesn't put Matthew Hoppe. He indicated he wants to see him get that experience and get in there. So that'll be interesting. I think that we'll get some of the same starters, but I think it'll be, a lot of rotation.
Yeah. And one of the comments says, I'll bet you one Comcast router.
The door.
Not really. It's all good. I'll bet you one Comcast router that we score, Meg, is the comment. Do you have predictions for how tonight is going to go?
Deal. I think so too. I think we'll score. I think we'll win. I think we're going to get 3 points. So, Panama's doing pretty well in the window and, lost their last game, but I think they're a fairly strong team. That being said, the U.S. has an incredible record against Panama all time, and then in the World Cup qualifying and away as well. So I think that we have a good track record playing Panama. We have a great track record playing them away. And so I think we'll get the 3 points personally, but I think it'll be a 1-0 win, and I think that goal is going to come in the second half.
Awesome. It does seem like we're very good at wearing teams down, and it can be very scary if you're playing against Ricardo Pepi and Paul Areola and then Timothy Weah and Brendan Aronson come off the bench to run at you. That seems to be our MO at this point in CONCACAF. All right, Meg, so I think the Wi-Fi is still struggling. I'll leave you time for one other, just like what are you looking for? Maybe it's the balance, but maybe it's Matthew Hoppe. What are you specifically looking for tonight against Panama?
I'm sorry, Jake. You cut out at the beginning of that question. Could you repeat it?
Yeah, essentially. So Greg is talking about balance. You're looking for maybe Matthew Hoppe to get on the field. Like what are those specific things that you're expecting tonight that is maybe lesser known storylines for fans?
So I think that, one of the broader stories of the U.S. men's national team in this window, in this era, is the just wide breadth of talent. We do have a lot of potential players who could be that guy. And I think there's a lot of unknown out there for a lot of positions, personally, I think. And I think that, I don't know if experiment is the right word, but I think that, with so many players, with so many young players, I think that there is room for experimenting with different players at different positions. I don't want to give Greg too many ideas though, because I don't want any Honduras first half, but I think it'll be interesting to see, the starting lineup tonight in tonight's match. I think that with a lot of rotation and with that balance, we could see some experimenting, and we could see who, and with players like John Brooks hurt, who will be those center backs? Who is he going to start?
Yeah, all good questions. I'm sorry the internet and the connection wasn't assisting us to have a better discussion, but I'm glad you stuck through it, and I'm very thankful for you taking the time this morning in Panama to come talk to us. I don't know if you can hear me still, but I just want to say thank you, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon, Meg. And have a great day. I hope you enjoy the game in the press box. Oh no, we just lost her. We just lost her at the very end. We're sorry, guys, but it is all good. We keep moving. You guys can't see what I see, but I think Meg might be back. We'll see. We'll add her to the stream one more time and see if it works. Meg, are you with us? Can you hear me? All right. All good. It is all good. We really appreciate Meg for joining us, and we thank her so much for the time. Who does Meg work for? We need to get her better internet. Let's go and plug some of the stuff that Meg is working on right now. I put her Twitter handle up as well, but we'll all right. Meg is a troll, just as much as John Herdman is a troll. What is this, Cloverfield? So Kron and Philly Weekly and Last Word on Sport is where I've seen a lot of her work. Last Word on Sport is, I think, one of the more recent ones. But I know Meg is also working on a book about traveling to the World Cup and watching soccer as well. So I hope that at some time soon she's able to get that all together. Sorry, we have a cat joining us. Hey, Meg, can you hear me? Meg, is this working?
Hey, guys. Yes.
Hey. Okay. So I know the internet isn't really cooperating.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes. So basically, I'll just let you tell everyone what's going on with your work, where they can find your articles, and then say sayonara for the day so you can go cover the U.S. men's national team. Maybe.
Sounds good. Sorry, everybody, for my internet connection. I promise next time it'll be better, but hopefully you can still hear me. So the best place up with one-off pieces. In addition to writing articles, I am in process of finishing women's team. And so it's about a lot of broader topics related to that team, told through the timeline of being there in France on the ground. And something I'm working on now is hopefully building off of that book about the women's national team to perhaps writing and figure out I was Mexico's contributing one about the process of World Cup Qualifier in CONCACAF. So yeah, you can check me out at Last Word on my articles. I'll be posting onto my Twitter, which is Meg_Swanick.
Meg, I don't know if you can hear me, but I'm going to remove you from the room. But I really do appreciate you joining us, and thank you so much.
Will be done soon.
We heard. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm removing a friend. I'm typing to you on Twitter as well, Meg, just to try and let you know what's going on. All right. R.I.P. Meg. That's what she gets for roasting the greatest coach of all time. Guys, I mean, it was bound to happen. All right, so we're streaming for 12 hours, right? There's going to be technical difficulties at moments. And thank you guys for sticking with us. But it's absolutely no problem. Meg was kind enough to join us from Panama, covering the U.S. men's national team game there on the ground. So hopefully we'll have her back on the channel soon. And when she's back with more consistent Wi-Fi, she is not a troll. She has some great work. But like you heard, hopefully, I think you can hear what I can hear. But go follow her at Meg Swanick. You can find all of the articles that she's writing, everything that she's working on there. And she'll be involved in all the press conferences, have all the inside scoops on the players and Greg. So I hope you were able to get out of some of those questions what we should be looking for. Greg is talking a lot about balance, and he's holding his cards close to the vest on who he's going to be playing tonight. So maybe we see Matthew Hoppe, maybe we don't, but it seemed like before the first game, he was very confident on who he was going to start or not. He said like 2 days before the game started that Weston McKennie was going to be in the lineup. So very interesting to hear now he's being a bit more secretive on what that looks like for the team. It was probably all those Philly fans interrupting the signal. It's awesome. All right, GS, you said, I'm in, Jake. Thanks for setting us. What a great project to all. Let's blow this goal out of the water. 100. Damn, so you guys keep moving it up. We're at $576 already. That's absolutely insane. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it. There's a few donations that I need to catch up on. And so JC said, I love the goal of this organization and love that you guys are doing this, especially as someone from Central African background. Keep it up. Soccer in the U.S. is on the up and up. And then, Greg, you said, love this cause as it's a major issue with the almost all sports in this country. Completely agree. And thank you so much for your support today. So guys, if you're new here, make sure to hit the like button so more people can find us. And what we're really trying to do is just raise money for a wonderful organization, Open Goal Project. YouTube has this wonderful streaming feature which is basically DVR. So if you do want to see or learn more about Open Goal Project, we did have the co-founder and also my cousin Simon on in the first hour of this. So you can go back and watch that to find out more about what they do, what the money goes to, and how this actually impacts some of the players that they support. And what's going to happen next? So we've just had 3 people join me on screen, which was very lovely of all of them to take some of the flack off me because I will be talking for 12 hours. I need to stay well hydrated. I need to get a snack soon and have another restroom break. So here's what's going to happen. I am going to put another video of Open Goal Project on the screen so we can all watch it together. And then let's see which one is appropriate in terms of how long it takes. Okay, so this one's a minute. I'm just trying to do a ton of different things all at once. Okay. All right, I'm going to read some comments as well. So Anonymity said, I feel like Busio would get bullied terribly in Panama. Yeah, it would be a really tough first game, but I really think he's learned a lot being in Serie A, and he actually just talked about how much it means to play in Serie A and how different it is to play in Serie A than in MLS. And if you make a mistake in Serie A, you will absolutely be punished for that. Let's see another jersey, Jake, from Chris. I do have my Tyler Adams one right here, so I might put this on in the interim, but we'll see. I have a stack of like 10 next to me, so I'm gonna pick one out. Anonymity also asked, Jake, do you ever regret having the name of one of the most corrupt orgs in the world as part of your YouTuber name? Well, if you've truly been here from the beginning, for the first like 4 days this channel was operating, it was like US Soccer TV or something. And whenever I tried to search for my videos, all of the US Soccer just came up. So it wasn't a very searchable name. And I had actually used this name a bunch. Like I have this Twitter handle that's a bit older, and an email and everything. So I don't regret it being one of the most corrupt organizations in the world as part of my YouTuber name, because the important part is the second part of that name, which is that we're an American USMNT fan channel, and we love to talk about it. And we can't help what FIFA does. Busio's look much stronger as of late in Venezia. Yeah, totally agree, Preston. He's had to learn his difficult lessons for sure. All right, guys, man, we are up to $586. That's insane. Let me read out this last donation, and then we'll get to the next phase of this. So, Paul, you said thanks for using your platform to improve our world. I truly appreciate that, but I could not do this without the support. 19 people have donated already. That's crazy. That is absolutely insane. We're only 3 hours in, and we're almost 60% of our way to this goal. So amazing the support that you guys have been able to provide so far. All right, last one. Preston, you said watching Venezia is like watching a nature documentary of polar bears eating seals. Sometimes we got to root for the seals, though. Yeah, I mean, it's always tough when you have newly promoted teams coming into top divisions in Europe. And I was always interested to see how much they were actually going to be using Gianluca Busio. But hey, it looks like our boy is having the time of his life in Serie A, getting his starts and getting that time. All right, so just a very quick note on what's about to happen. I use a specific streaming software to have these interview type sessions, and I use a different streaming software to play FIFA on YouTube. So what is about to happen is I'm going to start my FIFA stream, and it is going to hopefully automatically transfer everyone that's been in this to the next stream automatically. It should do that. I think that's the setup that YouTube has. But if it doesn't, guys, essentially all you need to do is go back to my channel and click on the most recent live one to find my FIFA stream. So we will start that now. And then after 2 hours of States United, we'll have Belz from the Scuffed podcast come on before we end up with another few hours of FIFA. So guys, if you have been joining us for this first portion where we've had 3 guests on, Sam Stokes from Yank Report, Simon, co-founder of Open Goal Project, and Meg Swanick as our journalist on the ground in Panama. Thank you so much for the support so far. All right, I'm going to end this stream. It should send you directly to our next stream, which is going to be States United, our FIFA career mode for the US men's national team. I'm going to quickly grab a drink, get a snack, change my jersey, and I will be right back in another 5 minutes. Let me start this up now. Thank you guys so much for joining, and I will see you in a few minutes.